Okay. Good afternoon. I'd like to open up the Human Resources and PR Committee meeting. Roll call.
Alderman Fisher, Alderman Mayfield,
Present.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen, Alderman Markham.
Present.
Alderman Reynolds.
Here.
Alderman January.
Okay, we have a
Let the
one,
record show that Alderman Allen did call in and said that he was going to be out of town and wasn't going to be able to attend.
okay. Alderman Fisher.
Oh, and Senator Fisher, yes.
Okay. All right, we have a one-item agenda. It's executive session 5 ILCS 122C2, collective bargaining. So we're going to go into executive session. So I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So move. Second.
Moved in second. Roll call.
Alderman Fisher, Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen, Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Reynolds.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Robinson, how you doing? You see.
All in favor?
So move.
I entertain a motion. Well, it's off today. Entertain a motion to close the Human Resources
I
PR
so
Committee.
move.
Moved
Second.
and second. Okay, questions? Roll call.
Alderman Fisher, Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen, Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Reynolds.
Aye.
Alderman January.
I'd like to open up the Finance Committee meeting. Roll call.
Alderman Fisher, Alderman Mayfield,
Present?
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen, Alderman Markham.
Present.
Alderman Reynolds.
Here.
Alderman January.
4-item agenda. Discussion, audit presentation, Miller and Cooper and Company. 2, review, discussion, refunding RFP results, underwriter choice, Eilers Group. 3, review, discussion of budget, elected officials, expense policy, and finally, discussion of library budget. Good afternoon, Daniela.
Good evening. Representative from our auditing firm, Miller Cooper. I'd like to present one of the lead CPAs at the account auditor, Susan Jones, and she'll talk about our budget. Sorry.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
You should have in front of you 3 deliverables related to the audit. The audit was finalized at the beginning of March. The deliverables are the bond financial statements, our required communications to the committee, as well as our management letter recommendation. A couple weeks ago, we met with the finance committee, members of the finance committee, and the chief of staff, the treasurer, and Daniela, and went through all these materials in detail. So I'll go through kind of a higher level presentation tonight, but in the blue bound book, past the table of contents, on pages 1 through 3 is our audit opinion, and we issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements for the fiscal year 2017 audit. There is on page 2 of the opinion, there is an emphasis Chicago had a deficit of $46.6 million. That's comprised of a positive net position of $21 million in business activities, which primarily is the water and sewer, all the proprietary activities, and then on the government-wide activities, there's a deficit of $67.7 million. The statement of net position includes all the long-term assets and long-term liabilities of the city. So total liabilities, if you move up on page 14, are $126 million. Approximately $96 million of those liabilities relate to unfunded pension liabilities related to police, fire, and IRMRF. Several years ago, about 3 years ago, those unfunded liabilities had to be, in accordance with accounting literature, reported in the statement of net position, and that large unfunded liabilities are reported. When we move on to the fund financial statements, those long-term liabilities aren't included, and we can look at some of those numbers. So turning to page 17 is the balance sheet for the governmental funds. It shows each major funds of the city. It excludes the proprietary funds, so water and sewer funds, and it excludes all the long-term assets and liabilities of the city. So you can see on a combined balance, there's positive fund balance of $26.1 million, and that's in the last column towards the bottom of page 17. Turning to page 19 is basically the income statement. It shows all the revenues, all the expenditures of the city. There's total revenues on a combined basis generated of $26.5 million, offset by expenditures of about $31.8 million. And then there was transfers from the proprietary funds, so the water and sewer fund transferred about $2.2 million into the governmental fund. So at the end of the year, there was revenues less than transfers and expenditures of about $2.8 million. So fund balance on a combined basis decreased from the prior year by about $2.8 million. If you move ahead to page 31, this begins the notes for the financial statements. The notes are lengthy. They go from page 31 to page 88. So every single significant account balance or financial statement balance, you can find out more information and more of the policies of the city. There were no new accounting policies adopted, no changes in accounting policies that were significant during the year. Note E on page 54 goes through all the capital assets of the city, and note F on page 56 goes through a more detailed description of all the long-term debt and liabilities of the city. And then turning to page 89 is one of the last sections of the financial statements. It's referred to as required supplementary information. And here on page 89, there's some more detailed information on the pension fund. So page 89 is the IMRF fund. You can see that pension liability is about 95% funded. If you move to page 92, is the police pension fund. That pension fund is only about 18.5% funded. And then on page 94, shows the fire pension fund, which is about 24% funded. The rest of the pages go through all the by fund, all the actual revenues by fund in comparison to budget. So if you wanted to look at a more detailed, in-depth look at fluctuations between the revenue and expenditures generated versus what was budgeted, those are all in the back schedules. Does anybody have any questions on the financial statements?
Questions, anyone?
Just want to point out, the next letter is our responsibilities that are required to be communicated to the committee. Just wanted to say, as part of our audit, we do look at the internal controls of the city. We don't issue a separate opinion on internal controls. We issue a separate wasn't really a formal, hard close done at year end, and that's why the audit took, so long. Really, all the rest of the comments in this letter, stem from that first comment related to the material weakness. But management has gone through each one of our comments in this letter and put their responses and their action plans to correct those, comments for next year. That concludes my formal presentation, if anybody has any questions.
Questions, anyone? Alderman? No questions. Thank you, Ms. Jones. Okay. Find my place, Alderman. You know what? Alderman Reynolds.
Under the, there you go.
Alderman Reynolds.
Yes, go ahead, Alderman.
I just want to ask, I know they just gave us this
that
letter
letter.
here. So I was just curious because I know we couldn't read this whole thing within the minutes that they gave it to us. I know they gave a presentation, you know, and that's fine and everything. But we need to start receiving items for we could understand what is just not just being said to us, but for us to read it so that we can understand the whole packet. Because, I mean, I respect her coming up here and discussing it, but I would like to read the information prior to the council meeting.
Alderman, we'll see if we can fix that. I don't know why.
It unfortunately was a timing issue. It was in draft form, and I received the packet this morning.
Right. But see, we just received it when we got here. See, we don't even, I mean, I understand somebody telling us one thing, but I didn't have an opportunity to read this. So that, I'm just, you know, I'm just saying, I don't want it the same day. It would help if we had received it on the day that we received our information.
Alderman, we'll see if we can correct that. Mr. Daniela, item 2.
Item 2, as you know, we contracted and hired Ellers Company to do a request for proposal for refunding bonds. We have the results, and we have representatives from the underwriters that have, at least temporarily, been selected through a process, and that is Mesro. So both parties are here to explain the process and give you some information on the underwriters. I think Mesro did the 2014 bond here, so some of you were probably here, if not all. So I'm going to leave the mic for them.
Thank you. Welcome, folks, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Maureen Berry with Ellers and Company, Ellers and Associates. We were here a few weeks ago presenting on the process that we were proposing at the time. So I just want to kind of give you a report on what we actually did. We did an underwriter RFP process. We sent the proposal, that the RFP, the request for proposals, to 5 underwriting firms and asked them to, lots of questions, but essentially to give us a structure on refunding both the 2007A and the 2007B issues that are currently outstanding for the city. Of the 5 firms, we received 4 proposals, so that was a very good result, we think. We then did a preliminary analysis on those 4 submittals to determine essentially which proposal we felt was the best and which we wanted to discuss with the city staff about recommending to you. We also asked some follow-up questions to clarify some areas that were unclear as needed on all of the proposals. So the result of the RFP process came back, as we mentioned to you when we talked I guess it was in March, We weren't really sure about the 2007A in terms of whether that was gonna come back as being feasible to refund. Just to remind everyone, the purpose of the refunding is to basically refund your outstanding debt and get better rates on it, so that you have savings to the city in terms of your debt service payments, okay? So that's really the goal that we're looking to achieve here. So we looked at the 2007A. Rates have gone up a little bit since we were here the last time, but any way you look at it, that issue doesn't really stand on its own in terms of achieving any savings. The only, you could lump it in with the other one, but there really isn't a reason to do that. The city's fine with making the debt service payments. There are only five outstanding payments on that issue right now, and so we, after talking with staff about it, there's an option for you to be able to refund that and push that debt service out into the future prior to the expiration of the TIF, but there really wouldn't be much benefit to be gained from that, and it certainly doesn't achieve your goal of realizing savings, okay? But I did want to make you aware that that is an option for you to consider. The 2007B is the other issue that we looked at, and that one was the one we certainly were aware that there's savings to be achieved there. So we looked at the proposals submitted by the underwriting firms, and we evaluated them on a number of criteria. The most objective ones to look at are in terms of the numbers they submitted. So net present value savings, which is how much money are you gonna save by refunding this issue now, is the biggest criteria. We also looked at the underwriter's discount, which is the fee the firm charges to do the underwriting out there, marketing the bonds to investors, and then also what the true interest cost of the issue would be. So those were kind of more objective. We also looked at the strength of the responses in their proposal and the quality of the responses. In the case of choosing Mesero, they came out essentially on top in all of those, the three kind of objective criteria, and we felt that their proposal was the strongest in terms of the quality and the responsiveness of their proposal. Further, in their corner is that Mesero was the underwriter that worked with the city on their year 2014 issues. So they have a familiarity with the city. They were very successful in working with the city staff and with Ellers to achieve a really great result on your 2014 issues. We, as you mentioned, were able to achieve an upgrade in the city's bond rating with Standard & Poor's. And so as a result of that familiarity with the city, the Mesero also has a group of proven, demonstrated investors that have purchased the city's bonds in the past that they can kind of start the ball rolling with, which I think is an advantage to Mesero in terms of being able to go out and market these bonds. So that's where we're at with that, and before I just kind of want to wrap up by talking about the next step, which would be we'll come back to you in May with, we'll work out some of the details with bond counsel and with the guys at Mesero, and then we'll be back in May with a first reading of the parameters ordinance. Okay, so I'd like them to step up and just introduce themselves and answer any questions that you have for them or for me at the moment, and then we'll go from there. Thank you. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, Todd Kriskowski is the lead underwriter for the team, and Dan Barlow is the vice president at Mesero. Thank you.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, I'm Todd Kriskowski, my colleague, Dan Barlow. So, first off, we're pleased to be able to respond to the request for proposal that was organized by Daniela and Maureen from Ellers and Company. Really, our purpose for your transaction here is to try to maximize the amount of dollars it gets to the bottom line, the reduction in interest costs that you pay. So, when we looked at the two bond issues, the 2007 A and B, right, we know that there's not a lot of benefit, or really almost zero benefit from the A's. But the good news is on the 2007 B's, we're looking at roughly $350,000 in net bottom purpose of the financing. Your debt will not be extended, it'll be right in, so you'll have the same debt structure, same payments that go out to 2037, they'll just be lower. Okay, it's just like if you refinanced a personal loan. Was happy to see the financial statements are done, because investors will look at those, the most current information that you have, and, we're confident you're gonna get an affirmation of your current credit rating, which was, upgraded the last time we went to the market. So, the final thing, I guess, is we do have an indication that there's gonna be multiple investors out there who are interested in the debt of the city of North Chicago. So I think that's a good thing. The more people that are interested in those bonds, right, that tends to keep the interest rates a little bit lower. So if you can make the savings 360 versus 350, it's that type of dynamic that will do it. Dan, I don't know if I missed anything. I'll pause there. Any more, anything else we should cover or anything else? Okay. So happy to take any questions that you have.
Questions, folks? Mayor? Adam? Anybody?
No, it's a good thing.
It's a very good thing. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Are good things, right?
Thank you very much.
Savings is always a good thing.
I just have one quick question, if you don't mind. Sorry. The memo said that standing on its own, 2007A didn't have sufficient savings to refund. Did you look at, if you package them together, if there is sufficient savings, or should we just look at 2007B by itself?
We did look, but that, it doesn't add anything to the savings, it takes away from the
Okay.
savings.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Item 3, review discussion of budget elected officials expense policy.
Yeah, at the last meeting, we talked about having an elected officials policy for expenses, and we submitted the draft policy to Clark Baird, to help us review. We got we received some comments back, and we incorporated their comments in this updated draft. So this is where we are.
Okay, thank you, Daniela. At the same time, I'd like to address the council. In the beginning, when this discussion was first put on the Finance Committee meeting, the entire idea was to incite or excite the council to join in providing some leadership in making cuts to help our city financially. After that meeting last week, I went around the council, got everybody's comments, but at the same time, it was requested that I put this particular discussion on this week's agenda, and one of our aldermen has much to say about it, so I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to call upon Alderman Mayfield. You got the floor, madam.
Thank you. I wanted to talk to council about our travel, training, and constituent services budget. We're looking at increasing that pretty substantially. And with the pension debt that we carry, I'd like for us to reconsider. $9,500 per person is quite a bit. And I have looked at other cities and North Chicago trying to become the city of best practices. I don't see anyone with a budget like that. Also, I'd like council to consider that over the next year or so, we may have to be making some substantial cuts. However, we're giving ourselves a pretty big increase in that area. So I wanted to kind of throw that out, see if I could get some discussion on that, or if everybody is good with 9,500. The optics look bad that we give ourselves an increase, and we're asking everyone else to save money. We've asked our chief of staff to save money. She found about, $1 million worth of cuts. So, as leaders, the gatekeepers and the stewards of the taxpayers' money, I'd like for us to reconsider that number.
Any more comments?
Well, I have no problem with it. From the time I came on this council, I've been fighting to cut this. So the only reason that it was increased was because it went according to the actual numbers of what has been used. It's not, those numbers weren't just conjured up. Those were numbers of what certain aldermen had come close to. So in the past, there's been aldermen that have gone on trips and what have you, and it's hit $5,000 and $6,000 and $7,000. This is documentation. So I say cut it completely down. I say nobody needs to go anywhere until we take care of business here. Why are we going places or want to go places if we're not taking care of home first? So if we cut it to 0, you'll have no problem with me.
Anyone else? Alderman Evans.
First of all, we all have discussed this situation right here, and I'm hearing that now it should be cut. But here's the situation with this. This is no surprise to nobody that's on this council. We've all discussed this budget. We're not saying that each council person needs to spend $9,500. What's been said is that we're trying to get a budget where it's designed to equal out and not to exceed that amount. So what we have done is we've came up with saying that each alderman has the opportunity of using $9,500, not saying that they will use $9,500. Now, I know certain aldermen do go out on travel and training. Some aldermen, they decide on what they want to choose, such as different programs that they may want to go to. It may not fit in all categories for each one of us, but it helps us from not going over a budget. When you say that we're saving money by cutting all the elected officials' budget, I think, now, this is what I'm going to say. What you really need to do is look at other budgets. Because as I'm sitting up here, as I've been sitting up here, I have seen extremely high budgets in high departments. Now, I don't hear nobody saying that. So don't shoot at something, at one organization, and don't shoot at it all. Because I know certain people don't do certain things, but I also know that it's not the elected officials that's sitting up here costing the city money. So as I hear that, it's wrong. And I'm not going to send out a message to nobody saying that it's the elected official. Like I said, it's giving the elected official an option, whether you go to that number or whether you don't. That's all this is doing. It's not saying go out there and spend $9,500 or whatever each elected official has. It's just putting something in the budget so that you don't over budget for items. And that's all we're trying to do. As far as my knowledge was, according to talking to several members on the board.
Daniela, you remember what we had before? I think it was 5,700? Oh,
She had her hand up.
oh, I'm sorry,
No,
Doug.
go ahead and ask your question then.
Okay, all right. Excuse me. If we can cut 5,700, or put everything on a one line, can we do that?
That's what you do.
5,700 or less. But you know what I'm saying? The idea, folks, we've just got to show leadership in this business of helping our city in this financial solvency. We just got to do something like that. Now, hold on. Don't go away. Alderman January.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't even know where to begin with my thoughts on this subject of even just the budget. I distinctly remember a couple of years ago, that we had a similar discussion about the budget and the legislative budget and the salary that was for the legislative, and that there was a statement made that there was not an increase, that actually the legislative council here had taken cuts for many years in their budget. And a couple of years ago, it was brought up to increase the salary of the legislative branch. And I distinctly remember all of us sitting up here and voting no. I leave to go take care of an ill parent in South Carolina, only to return to find out
Ew.
that there was a revote of that budget, and the tie was made by the mayor
That's
to
right.
increase the legislative budget so that his salary could be increased as well as others. So where I'm going with this is legislation, I feel, as legislators up here and those that came before us, have tried and done their best to control their budgets. I see on the budget extraordinarily high salaries across the board in this city. And we don't do anything to cut that, to bring the budget back into balance. Yes, I commend our chief of staff, Deb, for finding money where we could make some savings and some budget cuts in other areas. But there is a lot more to do, and I have to agree with Alderman Markham when he states that for the legislative, with training and for the training budget, that really we shouldn't even be going on any training right now. We need to take care of home and worry about what's happening here. But again, training is necessary if it's effective and brought back what we've learned and brought back within the city and utilized here within our boundaries. And that has not been happening. I have not seen that. So, and for this alderman, when we talk about the training, I have not been able to go to any training but once a year because this budget from the legislative was all combined under one.
Right.
Okay? I haven't been able to go to a second training at all since I have sat in this seat because other aldermen are going to 2, 3, 5 trainings a year and utilizing the budget that is set aside for all of us. And I haven't been able to do more than once a year. So for us to sit here and have the budget for the legislative pulled out, an individual, I'm for that if we're gonna continue. And I am looking forward, I feel that probably 9,500 is too high, and we need to bring that back down, fine, and we need to stay within that. I I feel as legislators, we have been doing our best, majority of us, to stay within our budgets that are given to us. So I just want the citizens to know that, you know, also these trainings that they're talking about do go up every year. So the costs do go up, and we have to keep that in mind as well for all of the training that everybody throughout the city goes to. So I hope I'm making some sense. I'm not sure, because I am just beside myself with this whole subject. There is just so much that there's not enough time to go through everything. So, again, I'm with Alderman Markham. If it was 0, I'd be fine with that too. But if we're gonna have some budget, then there needs to be, we need to look at it, but we need to look across the whole city, not just legislative. Thank you.
Mayor, Chief of Staff, Deb, would you please come forward, please? I was wondering, Deb, if every alderman got this predominant rate thing, 2016?
No, that was something I pulled off when you were in my
Okay,
office.
I was just wondering.
Our discussion about tax rates.
I wonder, is this still effective, you think?
Yeah, that's still right.
It's
That's,
still right?
yeah, that's current, and I could pull it off right now and
Okay.
type it out.
The reason why I want to make, ladies and gentlemen, we are second. The city of North Chicago is second in Lake County. I don't want to mention the top city, but we're second, and that's embarrassing to me. Predominant rate, I believe the
Tax
Your
rate.
tax rate.
tax rate.
Tax rate.
Property tax. Second.
Getting back to the legislative budget, I'm with the rest of you. Either keep it where we had it, one line item there, and if anybody go over that, you're out. You just don't go anywhere. Is that doable?
Can it go into one line item? Yes.
All right. Alderman?
I am just astonished. I'm amazed. I am just, because I've sat in this council from the time I got here and fought for the fact that we need to do something about these numbers. Because myself and Alderman January have constantly fought the fight about all of this traveling and all of this, and I believe she and I are the only ones that have gone to one session, and that's down in Chicago. And I remember distinctly being here and saying, all right, we want to do some things in our ward, where are the funds to do that? And I was told, well, you could only use yours for traveling. So, it's amazing to sit here and everybody's talking about our high rate when this council had voted for rate increases. I voted against the increase on the salaries, increased it to $10,000. I voted against the mayor getting a $50,000+ car. I voted against all of that. And for you all to sit here and say, oh, we want to do this. Evidently, you got people in the audience that you all want to appease. But they should have been here when people were purchasing automobiles and cars and all of these other things. And we, Alderman January and myself, fought against it. So my point is, don't give anybody anything. Take the salaries away. Take all of these department heads, 100,000+ salaries away. Take that down, bring that down too. If we want to get down to it and cut budget, let's cut across the board. We have fought this constantly. We fought overtime. We fought, and we've had citizens who actually live in North Chicago stand up here and state about the overtime and all of this, only to be treated as though they're not even residents here. So my point is, let's go in that budget and cut some more. Cut these salaries. Cut purchasing new automobiles that constantly keeps coming up before this council. So if you want to cut, let's cut. We have voted on increase. We voted on and someone made the statement about the increase that we just did on property tax. But the fact of the matter is, I pushed for it to be 2% because they were heading for 4.9. So let's you know, come on, let's be real before, let's show our numbers. Let's show who travels. I've got the numbers of who travels. I have the record of who travels and how much $6,000 and $7,000 that they spent in the past, let's see, 6 years that I've been on this council. So let's be real. Let's not sit up here because we got constituents out here and we want to show them we're doing something. Let's be real. So my point is, let's cut it. You don't have to give them anything. Stay at home.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I got something to say. Alderman Markham is right so far.
Thank you,
He
sir.
is so right. Because right now, what is happening, somebody up here is really playing to the focus of this audience. And I know they sitting here playing focus to the audience because that number that you said, $9,500 per each alderman, not saying that each person is gonna spend up to that much, but everybody sat right here and agreed with this. This is not the first time you're bringing this up to us.
That's right.
They knew that number was coming up. So whether you want to vote on that number now because of what you trying to appease, you're wrong. And that goes for anybody that's sitting right up here that's looking for a vote. Because, see, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not up here to just appease nobody for a vote. I'm up here to tell you the truth. Now, if you act like you can't understand the truth, it's wrong. Don't come and sit there and act like the legislative is the ones that's got all this money, that you putting all this money into this pot and we're spending the money. No, that's not the case. You start from the top to all the way to the bottom of this city, and you'll find out where it's being spent. I don't have to point out no fingers, and yes, you wanna know? We do know who travels around here. But the question should be is who wants to travel, who wants to go out there and learn anything, who has the time to do it. Maybe everybody, see, you don't know, some people don't have the time. So yes, they can say, oh no, I don't go nowhere. Of course you don't go nowhere. But what about those that is available to go somewhere to learn more about this city, to learn to bring ideas back to this city? You have aldermen up here that could do that. You have aldermen up here that wants the best for the city. You got aldermen that's concerned about this city. So when we talk about $9,500 for each alderman, it's stipulations to that $9,500 that the people should know about. It's not that we're gonna get $9,500 a piece and say, oh, we're gonna spend this a whole year. That's not the case. So what a lot of you need to do is really find out the whole detail with your alderman. Come out to ask your alderman, ask that individual what is going on. Cause see, I don't want to sit up here and pretend that certain things is going on because I know for a fact by sitting here what is going on right now. And they know what they're doing right now. They sitting here pretending as if they don't want to vote on something. And they was the first ones that knew about it. They the ones that brought it to us. So don't bring me nothing if you know you don't want to vote on it. Don't get your mind twisted up all of a sudden now and decide, oh, I don't want to vote this way. So I want to make the people think I wasn't part of this. You were part of it. And that goes for each person that knows that's sitting right here, right today. I will tell you you're part of it because you're the chair, you're the committee chair, you're the vice chair, everything that's going on with that committee. I'm not in that committee. It was brought to us. So therefore, if you say yes on it and we allowed it to say yes, don't bag down now.
Alderman?
Stand up for what you say. Do
Alderman,
not bag down for what you say.
Appreciate what you're saying, my dear friend, but I did not vote or approve $9,500. I have a witness. The fact is, when we went around the horn the last meeting, I simply said that I would prefer going right back to where we were. Okay? But then all of a sudden, somebody put on this committee, finance committee, $9,500. Who did that? Well, I don't know, but somebody did. And so here we are discussing it right now.
Well, we did it.
I know, but
Staff did it because that's what the amount was that was being spent.
Thank you.
And we wanted to have a true and honest budget.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
That's what was
Thank you,
being
Dale.
spent, is that correct?
All
You,
was being spent.
but what I'm saying is, you didn't,
Budget for $5,000 and spend $9,500, that's not true
See?
and honest.
that's what I'm saying. It wasn't just something that you conjured up.
See?
This is what has been spent.
It wasn't an arbitrary number, no.
Thank you.
can I ask you this?
Yes, sir.
Is this 95 or 9,500? What is, what, I would say, what is this legislative body doing, helping for our city's financial situation? Anything? With a budget like 9,500, or with a budget of 5,000, what is it, 5,700? I mean, I think, I thought everything was fine. Right there, it's not, I don't think I spent over, I didn't go over my budget.
Let's pull the record up.
Well, I'm just sorry.
Let's pull the record up. Let's call everybody's record. Let's call everybody's name. I want to call names. Let's call names.
Right, all right.
Let's
Go ahead,
hit
go
it.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Put it out there.
I'm just
And of
interested
course,
in
it's
saving
not
money.
a problem to put it out there because it is public record.
That's right.
Okay.
So all of us, there are aldermen that love to travel and bring things back. But what I am saying is what maybe Alderman Markham and Alderman January, you have been saying, maybe we need to look at cutting.
Cut.
That is what I'm saying.
Let's cut.
And here's the
Across the
thing.
board.
Across the board.
Well, I'm talking about the aldermen right now.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever we need to cut. But where I am coming from is that our pension debt is out of this world. And we're, not that this is going to make a big difference, but over the years, it does make a difference. So I am just saying, we need to look at it
Cut
from
it.
the alderman's perspective. And yes, there may be some other areas. And yes, there were times that you were saying cutting, and all of us didn't say cut. But that doesn't mean that we can't cut, or we can't change our mind to say, maybe what we're doing is not correct, and we want to change. So, yes, I'm saying for the aldermen, we're the leaders, we're the gatekeepers.
Let's cut.
We're the stewards. So, and I know we all like to travel, and we all like to go to training, but maybe what we're doing is too much. 9,500 per person budgeted. There is not a community in Lake County that has that. And yes, 2 weeks ago, everybody up here said 9,500 or 9,300 was good. But in my research, and we're trying to be the city of best practices, I don't see anyone having that much. When I talked to the Mayor Waukegan, it's 2,000 to 3,000 per person. When I looked at Zion, it was probably 8,000. Vernon Hills, it was under 10,000. So that's all I'm saying. And when people are trying to make a change, and yes, there may be some other areas that we need to change in, it doesn't have to become personal because we want to change or we want to try to do better. Maybe we have a better understanding now. But we should all be able to do that, have the conversation, and not be crucified for wanting to change or to cut.
I say make it $3,000.
Alderman Reynolds, again, it's $9,500. If the ones that's so crucial about this, do you understand you do not even have to spend a penny of it, not one penny. So show your good faith into what you don't want to do. You're not obligated to that. It's just something that's budgeted up to. It's not nothing that you have to spend that money on. So if you decide you're not going to use it, don't use it, right? It's not going to, you don't have to use it. So I don't understand what is the problem. For those that's talking about they're so dedicated, because I know this is year 2018, those that are so dedicated all of a sudden, because 2 weeks ago, as I sat right here, everybody agreed up on it.
No,
Ev-
I did not.
You the financial chair, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not.
Okay, Mr. Reynolds, that's fine. But, but as I sat here, 7 aldermen was up here. 7 aldermen agreed. But sometimes, I agreed on it. Yes, I will say I did agree on it. But I'm also saying that if you do not want to spend it, don't spend it. It's giving you an opportunity because we was going over the budget. So it's giving each alderman an opportunity that if you doing something for your ward, if you're doing something out here for the community, it's giving you an opportunity not to go over budget for those that's not going over budget. That's all. That was the purpose of that was brought to me.
There are 4 aldermen that have gone over a certain amount.
See?
4.
Right.
And I have the documentation to prove it. All right. What was done by the controller was they went through the numbers and they said, all right, because between not only the travel, but in the budget that we have been given, you've been given, I think it was 60-something for the travel. Is that right? The last one. And 2,000 for doing things in your ward.
I believe it was originally 2,500, and then the balance of 3,200 for travel.
Okay, thank you. 3,200 for travel and training, about 2,000 for 2,500 for for your ward, having ward meetings, whatever, which totals to about five plus. Okay, and what I'm saying is, in 1 or 2 trips, aldermen went exceeded that amount, right there. So the point was, the numbers were, all right, what's the actual travel? What's the actual training? What's going on? Those are the numbers that were placed out there. Now, I have constantly said we're going to have to curb this situation. And I was told, well, that's going to be hard to do. Now, all of a sudden, it's not hard. So what I'm saying is, let's do what we did. Let's state, we need guidelines. Whatever number you come up with, my point is we need this official expenditure policy. Because we do not have one. We need that policy stating whatever number we come up with, you stick with it, which means, and just using it as an example, if Alderman Mayfield travels and she goes over her travel, she doesn't travel anymore.
What I've said before. Yep. Right, go ahead.
Okay, prior to this is the first time that we have broke out travel and training. Travel and training used to be a pot, okay? There were no guidelines. Everybody could travel and train as they desired, really. That's how it.
That's basically what it was.
Right. Now, this is the first year that we're talking about everybody has an amount, okay? Each person here has 9,500 is what we're saying now. And if you go past that, then you can't travel, train, or do constituent services, whatever it may be. That's what we're saying.
Yes.
So what I'm saying to council is, that's great. That's where we need to be, okay? Nobody's saying it's hard or easy. That's where we need to be. But the question is, should every person, and this is what I'm throwing out, and no one needs to get upset about it, is $9,500 too much? There's no one else in Lake County. And I understand what Alderman is saying, that you have it, you don't have to use it. I understand that. And some people may want to go with that, some may not. I'm just throwing the question out. Is $9,500 too much? That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
So what should the number be? Half of that?
Well, this is why we needed the elected officials' expense policy. See, we needed something in writing stating that, all right, this is the funds you're gonna get, but you better stay within these guidelines. What I'm saying is, and I've discussed with Alderman Evans and various aldermen, and they know this. I've said that, you know, you ought to have a representation go to various things. If there's 4 sessions, we ought to have one representative one alderman go to each session, meaning that you go to one, Alderman Evans goes to one, whoever else goes to one, to represent us, so that we can cut the budget. I made that suggestion. I was told, well, we need to go and get information and all of this. I also stated that every alderman that goes on these trips should come back with a synopsis of what classes they went to and give us an idea of what information could be used back here in the city. I feel like, why should you go to these meetings just to go to these cities and towns, come back with some information that's applicable to what we need to do here in North Chicago? I've stated that too. I've constantly stated. What I'm saying, I'm going back over what I've said. What I'm saying is, cut it to 3,000. Cut it to 2,000, and 1,000 for our constituents, and you won't have a problem out of me. If you give this 0, you won't have a problem out of me. But I want it to be across the board. I don't want us to leave here and then somebody's going on travel and training and we don't know about it. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna go for all of the aldermen are gonna come up to what we say in this policy. Because we first need to vote this policy in.
We have a budget that has to be done by the end of the month.
Right, and we need to vote along with that.
We can still determine that number and then go with the policy. So if you say $2,000 or $3,000 or $9,000, whatever that policy is, that's what we would adhere to.
And then the next question is, and I'm just gonna go there, what about the mayor's travel and training?
I don't have answers for.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That needs to be looked at also.
I mean, we look at the budget.
Let's go down, let's go across, that's what I'm saying. Let's go to every entity, every area, and see what needs to be cut. See, if we're gonna lay it out there, let's lay it all out there.
That's fair, that's fair.
So, what the approach?
Again, let me just say this again, because I don't think we are understanding this. If you got a budget of 9,500, that does not mean for you to use 9,500. That is helping whichever alderman can go up to 95. It's not saying, because it seems to me, I don't know how true it's going to be, but just to give you an opportunity, some of you are sitting here right now saying, oh, no, we don't need 9,500. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. We need 2,000. But in certain cases, as you know, for those of you that goes out into your community, goes out to your wards, give these meetings and things like that, you know that's going to limit you.
That's true.
You know that's going to limit you. And so why holler about a number that you know that's not gonna work? If it's gonna be 9,500, you know to bring in these receipts. You know the guidelines. We're not gonna use 9,500. That was based upon the financial chair and the vice chair. Now,
Yes, sir.
you guys worked on that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they didn't just come up with a $9,500. They didn't just come up with a number. That number came up because of what they analyzed. So we all had agreed on that number. But now all of a sudden, we're saying we want to back off the number because it sounds as if it's too much. It's not too much because, again, if you don't want to use it, do not use it. It's not telling you to go up to that number. It's just giving you an opportunity. So that goes for each and every last one of us. So I don't know what the problem is. Could somebody please explain it to me? Because we've been sitting here discussing this, and it's mighty funny that you cannot make up your mind from 2 weeks ago to today.
Adam, could I table this now?
Sure, you weren't gonna vote on it tonight anyway.
No, I'd like to table this now,
You
and,
can, you need a motion.
yeah, okay. I move to table this discussion.
Well, we're in committee, right?
Yeah.
So do we have to table it? We don't have to table it in committee.
Table, you can bring it back.
He wants to move on.
I
He
want
wants
to table it because we're not getting anywhere.
Second.
We're not getting anywhere. Been moved, it's been moved, it's been second. Are you ready to vote?
Alderman Reynolds moved.
I moved.
Are you tabling, are
I'm
you
just,
are you closing the?
I'm gonna table it now, Mr. Mayor, and we'll go back to the drawing board until I get a consensus as to how much of a budget that each legislator needs, but 95,
Well, I do want to say this, Mr. Chairman. Now, they stated that the budget has to be voted
soon.
on
Until the first.
of May.
quarter
Of May,
the
right?
new year being, so that date, the drop dead date would be July 31st.
July 31st. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm hoping, if you don't mind, if I'm not in, if still in order, I'm hoping that we'll come up with a figure for each of, at our very next meeting, something that's gonna be satisfactory for all of us. But as I said, I will not vote for $9,500. I will not. If anything, I'll keep it the same. Was it 5,700?
That was the original.
That was the original. If there's anything, I keep it that way. But anyway, what say ye?
Next item.
It's been moved, it's been second.
Yes.
Roll call.
No, you just can move on to the next item.
Okay. Next item, library budget.
Okay, I've included in your packet, the request from, the library. We have Joe Batley here if there are any questions, on their budget. And these figures at this point will be in the.
Joe? Okay. Any questions? Hearing none? Thank you, Danielle. Hearing any more questions, any more comments at all? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the Finance Committee meeting.
So moved?
Been moved? Who's gonna second it?
Second.
Been moved and second. Roll call. I'll make this an official thing.
Alderman Fisher, Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen. Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Reynolds.
Aye.
Alderman January.
You know, we have guests in the audience, and I was wondering if we can open our city council meeting up since it is past the 7 o'clock hour. Those that are here regarding the resolution, and then also we have our commissioner, county board commissioner here also with a presentation, and then afterwards go back into committee to finish up. Would that be appropriate?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 1 second, please.
I would like to open up the Economic Development Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. Roll call.
Alderman Fisher, Alderman Mayfield.
Present.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen. Alderman Markham.
Present.
Alderman Reynolds.
Here.
Alderman January.
We have 3 items on the agenda. The first item is the review discussion of minority contractors, and the second item will be the review discussion of 601 10th Street special use permit, and the third is pending matters. We have Victor Barrera, the Director of Economic Development.
Thank you, Alderman Evans. Good evening, committee. The first item is a carryover of the last meeting. At the last committee meeting, there was discussion about the efforts that have been made in hiring minority contractors for some of the city's projects. Specifically, there was conversations about the efforts that have been or were being made in hiring minority contractors for the redevelopment of the Marion Jones site, Brookstone and Regency at Coles Park. Since the last meeting, we reached out to the Benoit Group, the developer, and his team, informed them about some of the conversations, or the conversation that was had at the last committee meeting, and the comments that were made at the public, during the public comment portion, or during the committee meeting, and the comments that were made by the public. And unfortunately, the developer and his team were not available to make a presentation to the committee. They asked to come to a future meeting, and they asked for an opportunity to bring, to do some research and bring some data to present to the committee and explain and present their efforts in hiring minority contractors for their projects.
Are there any questions? Go ahead.
Were you gonna bring up Reverend Gas? Yeah, good.
Oh, okay. That's why I asked, anybody got any questions? Okay.
All right?
I have one person.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pastor Gass. He's the Black Chamber of Commerce. I would like for him to speak on behalf of minority contracting coming up on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to all of our aldermen. I think that all of us can voice the sentiment that we are concerned as to what is going on with the Marion Jones project, and I don't want to get in front of the Benoit Group nor Lake County Housing, because that should be their role to come to give you actual data. However, we are concerned because since the bids, since the project came on board, there was a concerted effort made to reach out to minority firms. Matter of fact, we had a contractors outreach that was sponsored by the GC that was held in North Chicago that specifically stated they wanted to reach out to Section 3 contractors and Section 3 workers. Within the last month, there has been one contract awarded to a minority firm, and that minority firm is being denied access to work because he is not a union firm. Mind you that this is a HUD project covered under Section 3 of 1968. That was 50 years ago, and here we are 50 years down the road, and we still having issues just going out to do a job. It is not, I repeat, it is not a union shop project. It is a non-union project. The GC is non-union, and anyone who bidded on those projects, as long as they pay prevailing wage, should be able to work on those projects. And we have meetings scheduled. Hopefully, we can resolve all of that. Again, that's why I don't want to get into any dialogue, but the issue is, I think that this is something that the city attorney and the city, the aldermen, you all going to have to take a very, very serious look at, because you have many projects that you got on the horizon, and anytime you have a union firm that is awarded that contract, it is automatically going to become union. This is no way that we are trying to bash unions. Unions have a right to exist because organized labor is what it is in the state. However, when you have a non-union project, our concern is it's not fair that when you have a Section 3 contractor who has been awarded a contract, does not have the same access to the job site and treated just as well as the union contractors without any interruption of him doing his job in order to complete his contractual agreement. That is our concern, and we ask that the council look very closely into this and hope that all of this can be resolved in a very equitable way for the city. I listened at you talking about the economics span of the city, and where I sat from the chamber's perspective and doing my own analysis, you don't really have any infrastructure vendors in the city to where you can benefit as far as materials. So if you do not have contractors and or Section 3 workers from the city, you're going to have very limited direct economic impact coming from that project in this community. So I do ask that you all would look at that and make sure that these contractors are treated fairly, to go out and do their job, and do not allow, in all due respects to the unions, but do not allow them to hijack something that is not a union firm.
Thank you. Any questions? Attorney?
Alderman, I just wanted to make sure the council's aware that there's a memo from our office in your packet explaining the rules that apply as a result of it being a HUD-funded project. Section 3 was mentioned. That's described in the memo.
Okay.
It distinguishes Section 3 requirements from other types of contract preferences that we sometimes are more familiar with. The Section 3 requirement is one that requires the recipient of the HUD funds to try and direct contracts to employers that hire the residents of housing authority projects. It's designed to hire low-income and very low-income workers to leverage the money that the federal government is investing in the community, so the money is paid to residents in the community and therefore, is leveraged to stay here. It is a race and color blind system. It is designed to hire the residents of housing authority projects and award contracts to companies that hire residents of housing authority projects. So you can read the memo at your leisure. I will agree with the other comment. There is only one contractor registered from the city of North Chicago that is a Section 3 contractor. There's about 8 to 10 from Waukegan, but only one contractor from North Chicago is registered as a Section 3 contractor that would be directly capable of benefiting from the Section 3 preferences that HUD enforces. So that might be something we can explore too, is helping teach local contractors how to qualify as a Section 3 contractor.
And through the Black Chamber of Commerce, you guys work with that too, right?
We can register any contractor in Section 3. It's just a registration. It takes less than 10 minutes to do that. So it's not a very complex process. However, the effort is not just the Section 3 contractor. Many of them are discouraged because of what's going on now. They just don't want to get into the hoopla. And when you have a Section 3 project that's covered under HUD, it's automatically that HUD dollars mandate that project. It's not a union project, and any contractor who bids on it, Section 3 or not, if he has to pay prevailing wage in order to level the playing field, then that means that contractor should be allowed to perform his or her duties uninterrupted. Because it's a HUD project. That's federal law.
And that's what we're currently going through.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what the
I don't know the facts with this particular project. However, there are times where if a general contractor awards subcontracts to a mixture of union and non-union subcontractors, the union contractors will engage in sympathy work slowdowns or sympathy strikes to demonstrate to the owner that all of the contracts should have been awarded to union shops. It's important for the owner to make sure that the contracts that they enter into for each of the subcontracts have very specific deliverable dates and very specific enforcement provisions to make sure that they have the right to demand performance of each contract so long as the owner complies with the requirements of the law. Illinois has the Prevailing Wage Act. Federal law has what's called the Davis-Bacon Act, which is essentially the same thing from a federal point of view. The city doesn't have the right to prohibit people from picketing, because that's a First Amendment privilege. But the city can encourage the housing authority to adopt strict contracting guidelines and strict contract enforcement to make sure that each contractor and subcontractor is held to the schedule that's presented for the performance of the work.
In respects to attorney, and it is required by law that the general contractor attach the Section 3 clause to every subcontract.
That's right.
So it is no surprise to a subcontractor as to what he's getting into. He knows full well the Section 3 contract, and that simply means that whoever wins it, he can be union or non-union. So that means that in this Section 3 clause, it specifically states that you would not, just to be clear, is that that the parties of this contract agree to comply with HUD regulations at 24 CFR 135, which implements Section 3 as evident by the execution of this contract. The parties of this contract certify but they are under no contractual or other impediments that would prevent them from complying with the Part 135 regulations, which that's in the clause. So when they was given their contract, if the GC attached this Section 3 clause there, it simply states that. And if they sign the contract, stick with this clause, they are in essence saying that they are under no impediment. So for them to do anything other than allow him or her to have access to their job is false information because they signed a Section 3 clause in their subcontract.
Right.
Like I said, the housing authority, as the owner of the project, is responsible for enforcing the contract.
Right. But by us being a city, do we have a say, we do have a say on whether they should have that permit going, whether the building still should be going, if it's not being corrected? If they're doing something that's not legal, if they're doing something that they're not supposed to be, if they're supposed to be abiding by this contract, and they're not following the rules, do we have an authorization to stop their project until we get these things settled?
No. But the contractors who are aggrieved by the contractors who are being affected by it have the right to file a complaint with HUD. There is a complaint process that the contractors can follow through the regulations, through the Part 135 regulations. But the city is not a party to the contract, and we don't have any judicial power to enforce a contract dispute. And we can't prohibit people from, we can't prohibit third parties from coming to the city and exercising their First Amendment right outside of the project, site. If they want to go across the street and picket, as long as it's in the right-of-way, that's part of their First Amendment rights. We certainly can work with the Housing Authority to encourage them to strictly enforce the terms of the contract. The section of, the language from Section 3 was accurately quoted. Each contractor who signs a contract with a HUD finance project does have to acknowledge that there is no impediment to them performing all of the terms of the contract. And so it's a matter of making sure the contract is enforced, and each contractor who's awarded work is allowed to do it.
Right. Now, what has happened is, he was awarded the job for the
No, he
roof.
was awarded the job.
He was awarded, he was awarded the job, that's correct.
And start to work.
And that is correct. So,
And then everybody else walked off.
okay,
And that's where it's wrong.
right. So where does the city, I mean, what happens is it does reflect the city of North Chicago.
This doesn't happen only in North Chicago.
Okay, but it's happening now in North Chicago. So what do we do as a city to prevent this project to keep moving in the right way? How do we step in?
So long as the project continues to comply with city codes, building codes, life safety codes, zoning codes, we don't have the power to enforce the contract, because we're not a party to the contract.
Right.
Our job is to make sure that the process of the work is completed according to our codes. And unless it's reported otherwise, the permit, the plans that they're working under were permitted plans.
Okay,
So as long as the work's completed according to the plans and in accordance with city code, and they get all the inspections they're required to get, and they pass all their inspections, that's the scope of our authority. Because we don't own the project, it's not our money on the project. This changes if we're spending the money. If it's city money, and we're a contractor and we're a part owner, then we have some enforcement power.
Alderman January. Oh, you wanna go?
No,
Alderman
I
Mark?
just wanted to ask, Pastor, the new director or interim director that they have now, have you had dialogue with them over this issue?
Not directly.
Okay.
Again, there are, pending conversations, I believe tomorrow, in hopes that we can get this resolved. But that's the limit. That's why I said I don't want to speak.
Right. Yes, sir.
and observation, but just end of it, but I mean,
Okay. And the contractor that was here the last meeting, was there any resolution to what happened in that, or? Yes, Mr. Wallace.
Who's here tonight?
Who's here?
Mr. Allen, not here.
He's not in today. Would you like to come up here and tell us? You could just wait 1 minute. We just want to hear, did he have anything happen?
Pastor Gas is right. You know, we've been working in this community for over 40 or 50 years, and this has happened to us every time. Now you're stating that what you can't do. You can do something about this. You can't pull the permits and stop the job, so they can comply with me and Pastor Gas, so we can get him back to working and get me on the job site. That's what needs to be done. So is there an issue to where we can vote on this?
No, well, we can't vote on it.
That's what Mr. Allen was telling me that we could do,
No, we can't vote on that site.
as far as pulling the permit.
Enforcement of the permit is an administrative matter, and staff is charged with the power to perform inspections on the site to make sure that they're completing the work in compliance with the permits they were granted and in compliance with the building and life safety codes that the city enforces. So that's a process that's managed by staff to make sure that they're complying with the regulations the city has adopted for how to construct buildings and other improvements. What you're talking about is a contract enforcement problem where Lake County Housing Authority is apparently allowing contractors with whom they have an agreement to not perform, despite the fact they have a written agreement on it. That's a problem between the contractors and the Lake County Housing Authority. The city's not a party to the agreement.
Well, doesn't the city has a 20% ordinance
No,
saying for minorities?
no.
Yeah, it's gotta have a 20% minority clause. They're saying that for minority contractors to work on the job site. So that's what we want to enforce. That's why we want you to pull the permits to shut the job down until we get past the gas and me out there on the job site. And that's not even 2% of the job. 10% of the job, that's $10 million. That's $50 million on that job site. And all he's got is $500,000. I got $2 million. That's 2.5. We still got $7.5 million left on the contract. So we're not even asking for 3%.
I have not.
So something's gotta be done. You keep saying, no, 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 you can do something about it. Something can be done about it. You know, all we can sit here and say, no, I submitted my bid in 3 times, and then the last minute you're gonna tell me no. Hey, something can be done about it. Get your tax dollars. Yeah. You can't say something can't be done about it, because something can be done about it.
What,
The other two aldermen say.
you can register as a Section 3 contractor. And if you can register as a Section 3 contractor, because Section 3 contractors are eligible to be given preferences for HUD contracts.
Job site, I ask everybody, $50 million, and we only asking for 2 or 3%? That's nothing. We got, our children's gotta eat too. They gotta go to college. If we can't get some work in our own community, well, we gonna get some somewhere else. We gotta start here. We gotta start here right now, today. We got to stand up, everybody gotta stand up, we got to do the job, speak up, and let it be done. So this man won't have no problem, I won't have no problem, and nobody else have no problem. So let's vote on it, let something be done about it now.
Alderman January.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, Pastor, yes, thank you for coming forward to start the dialogue with the county, the Lake County Housing Authorities, to sit down with them at the table and say, hey, what's going on, guys? You're not honoring your own federal dollars and how you're spending them. You're spending taxpayers' money, and you're not giving it where it says in the contracts. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for stepping forward and having the Black Chamber of Commerce at least come forward and promote some discussion of this matter and to start letting them know. And there is stuff that we can do as the city. It is within our city boundaries that this project is taking place. Our mayor and Bobby Allen signed off on the project to have Marion Jones torn down, displace everybody. And nobody in this council knew about it until it was brought to light by Dr. Brooks and my husband, Charles January. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, what happened? So again, we need to stop. We need to have leadership here. You talk about leadership, Alderman Mayfield, you talk about that we need to watch our budgets. We need to watch our community. We need to be out here helping our community. And if we need to stand up and take that stand, and we can, as a council, vote and say, we're not allowing any more permits on this project until they comply with their contract. We can. I don't understand where this is coming from that we can't. It is within our city boundaries. They have to pull permits from us.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you on record that it has not been transparent. There has been problems at this project. They have not been following our codes. And there has been multiple discussions behind closed doors with Lake County Housing Authority to tell them they need to comply with our codes. And now they are. So again, if we can get them to the table and talk to them and get them to do that, then we should be able to get them to the table and to take care of this issue with the minority contractors. This is ridiculous. I am tired of hearing about this. I want us to do some sort of action from the city. We need to start showing these contractors and these groups that come to our city that we mean business. You can't run us over. We need to stand up. We need to enforce our ordinances, our codes, everything, and be behind our community.
That's right.
I asked for a representative from the Lake County Housing Authority to be here. Where are they?
Not here.
Why aren't they here for us as a council to address them? They're not. They're not gonna come. That's why I'm so thankful for the Black Chamber of Commerce. I'm so thankful for a pastor who's going to start the dialogue with them and say, hey, what's going on here? It needs to start somewhere. I don't care what other communities are doing. I care about this community here.
That's right.
City of North Chicago. I do want to open the floor, if you don't mind. I see our
well-
current count, hold on a second. I said I would like,
Okay.
listen to my words instead of ignoring me. We have our current Lake County Commissioner here, Vance Wyatt. I would love to open the floor to him and let him come up and see what his
We'll-
opinion is and how he can maybe help us.
Okay, give me a minute.
Thank you.
Alderman Markham?
No, I wanted to ask in terms of you're the vice chairman of this committee?
Yes.
Okay, can it be put on the agenda to put it on vote that we hold any permits or
Well,
for the
according to
next
our,
meeting?
hold on.
Unless they
according-
show up here?
Unless, according to our attorney, let's see, because he told me that we couldn't hold anything, so let's just listen.
So long as they comply with the zoning regulations and the building code regulations. I have not heard on the floor of the council that there are specific violations of the zoning or building codes of the city.
There was.
If there was, then the staff can issue tickets and citations and hold them accountable.
Well, hold on, Victor. Have you guys received anything regarding this project?
We have had some issues with the team as it relates to adhering to the city subdivision ordinance. We have had several meetings with them, and we've gotten on a schedule, and we're back on track, and they are working with us to meet all of our city ordinances and requirements.
Have anyone been issuing any tickets or anything?
At one point, we had to stop the project. We had to stop the project.
Thank you.
Why can't we?
He did because it was based on our codes. We cannot stop the project because of who they chose to contract for the work.
This is the first time that we're hearing that the project was stopped. First time. This is the first time. Now, Alderman January may have heard it. This is the first time I'm hearing that they had to stop the project, so it can be stopped.
I said before,
Yes, sir.
it can be stopped if they are in violation of the zoning or building codes.
And so if they don't come up to, if they're not coming up to what has been designated, it can be stopped. Is that
Yes, we
correct?
can enforce the city code.
All right. So,
But the city code, based on my research, the city code does not have a provision that requires a percentage of all the contractors to be local contractors or any other preference. We do not have a city ordinance that I have found that says that.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is, if whatever they didn't do, or they didn't complete, we have a right to stop it right now, if they haven't done it. Is that right?
Could I
Go
answer
ahead,
on that?
go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you. And I've been pretty patient and listening. Just like on any building permit that we issue, if the contractor that's doing that work is not doing it to code, yes, we do a stop work on it. And that's happened throughout the city, depending on what the project is. Whether you're building a house or putting up a fence, if you don't do it in a proper way or don't even have a permit, yes, we do a stop work. The housing project did have an issue. We stopped it. They complied, and they go back to work. This case here, yes, we've been having meetings. Pastor Gass has been involved in them. Staff has been involved with it. I've been at meetings with them. The company, let me just say, the company that is in question right now, that has been awarded the contract, that has been issued all the permits, that has come in here to the city of North Chicago and issued the permits, had their employees out on the job, and for the union, and Pastor, I know you as a resident, but me as a mayor saying, for them to walk off, and let me just say also, 31 years I was a union employee. For them to walk off knowing that this contractor was paying prevailing wages and all the benefits that went along with it, for them to walk off, first of all, for me, I felt was wrong. Pastor Gass went and worked with the Housing Authority and the union. I hope you don't mind me telling the story, because that's the way it was. And they accepted the fact that let the contractors come back to work. And they started to come back and perform the work. And not only just perform the work, but hire employees from Waukegan and North Chicago to do the job. And then the union turns back around and says, oh no, now we're not going to do it. I think that's wrong. I think that is the worst thing that a union can come back and do.
So-
I've been in contact with the Lake County Housing Authority. I've been in contact with the Benoit Group to have this meeting. I understand where Pastor Gass is coming from and what he is wishing to do if they do not resolve this. And I think that is the best thing that we can do at this point. And I'm Pastor Gass, I'm not getting into what you're going to do. But you're right. When a business comes into our community and try to build, a lot of times we don't have a say. If it's not a Section 3 project, they come in and do whoever they want. They can bring whoever they want into it. But when it's a Section 3, when we put up Grant Place and found out that we couldn't have, because of union people, and they bring the rat out, and it's wrong. The only places they have an opportunity is in minority communities, where we are. They can't go out a lot of times to Libertyville. They can't go out to Gurnee, and they do the projects. It's here where we have that opportunity to bring in our people to do the work. I hear what our city attorney is saying, but if it's up to us to have to make a decision, because they do come and pull permits from us. They do come in and ask to move that project forward. We have bent over backwards to keep that project on time, on budget, and get that project done, because it's a reflection on the city of North Chicago, even if it is a Lake County housing. But it's gotten to a point now where if we don't step up and make that call, we're going to have, it will continue. We've got Sheridan Crossing right now that is key to our city. That's key, that's going to hopefully bring development into North Chicago. But if we don't try to make sure that we work with the Black Chamber of Commerce, work with our minority contractors to get that project developed, we're gonna have a, you know, we would be our own biggest persons to say, you know, we're not trying to meet our goals. So, though it's a Lake County housing project, I think that we have to do our own, be able to step up and say, either they allow this contractor to come in and complete their job, or stand behind the Black Chamber of Commerce and support their efforts on what they're doing to make this a Section 3 project and a HUD project, and support whatever efforts they put behind. So that's where I stand at.
Attorney, by this being a Section 3 contract, and they're not meeting the standards of that contract, that they're currently not meeting the standards that's needed, can we put this project on hold until they meet that contract requirement?
We do not have enforcement authority for Section 3 purposes. Section 3 is enforced by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Okay. You have a question? Alderman Mayfield?
Quick question for you, Attorney. Can we hold their permits for a period of time?
Anytime someone applies for a permit, there is a administrative process that occurs where the city has an opportunity to review the plans and compare the plans to the codes. That doesn't happen overnight, obviously. It is customary for it to take some time for the city to review the plans and compare it to the codes. Some of those plans are outsourced to third-party professionals who have the expertise needed to review the plans and compare them to the codes. I don't know how long that takes, but it does take some time.
So if we were to pull the codes, could we pull the codes?
Pull the codes.
Pull the
I mean,
permits.
the permits, I'm
Right.
sorry, thank you. Pull the permits, could we do that?
If the permits have already been issued, then the plans that the permits were issued for have already been reviewed for compliance with the applicable laws. When they apply for a new permit, we need to take some time to make sure that the plans they're submitting for the new permit compare favorably with the regulations that apply. I don't know how many permits they've pulled, or I don't know whether the permits they've pulled are adequate to complete all of the work, or if they're getting permits piecemeal.
Okay. So maybe Victor can tell us.
How about this, Pastor Gas?
Yes, sir. Just from your attorney perspective, when there is, because they're not being able to get back to work, that is just blatantly unfair labor practice. It's unfair because they're not allowed to work. So, as a city council, are you telling me that the city council cannot address unfair labor practice in the city of North Chicago?
In the state of Illinois, unfair labor practices are under the jurisdiction of the labor board. We're not the labor board. That's a state agency.
Victor, when you said that you stopped the project, how did you start that project back up? Well, who stopped it and how did it start back up?
We stopped it because they weren't adhering to the city ordinances.
Who stopped it?
My department did.
Okay.
But again, they weren't adhering to the city ordinances. We got it back up after we had a meeting and discussed a game plan and how they were going to go about adhering to our city ordinances.
Were you aware of the situation going on?
At the time, we were discussing we had to stop the project because they were, as I mentioned earlier, they were in violation of the city's subdivision ordinance, and we were having conversations with them regarding the development of the site, specifically the installation of the public improvements and the installation of the activity and the work that was taking place in the pond.
Now, the reason I asked you was you were aware of it because the mayor had indicated that you guys had meetings that I'm sure you had to be involved with Pastor Gas. Did you not? Okay.
At the time that happened, though, this wasn't going on.
Oh, this wasn't going on. Okay,
Wasn't
that's
going on.
what I'm asking. Okay.
No,
All righty. Are there any questions? Alderman
Are
Marshall.
they in compliance with what you talk with now, or what's going on?
Yes, they're in compliance. To answer the question that was asked earlier, have we issued the permits for the entire subdivision, for the entire project? And the answer is no. We have been piecemealing the projects. They have asked us to release more projects, and we have resisted and allowed them and have released only as many permits as we're comfortable releasing.
That might be an opportunity to.
So at this time, I could safely say that we've issued permits for approximately 50% of the subdivision.
Any questions? Uh-oh. Vance, Wyatt, the commissioner.
So, pretty much, I met with Pastor Gas, I want to say that it's August or July, along with the mayor, the Benoit Group, general contractors, and we had a good conversation about this and trying to make sure we get minority contractors on this project. The issue that we have now is it's not really the county's part. We don't issue permits. You know, I talked to Mr. January in regards to that, and he thought that it was the county that issued permits for, because the county or county housing authority project. The city issues that permit. We don't have any control over that. Lake County is not a home rule county, so we don't have the authority via an ordinance to mandate, like I say, 20% or 30% minority contractor. Cook County is the only home rule county in the entire state of Illinois. That's why you see a lot more of those type of businesses happening down in Chicago and Cook County. You know, so the city is a home rule county. I thought, to my knowledge, you guys had a 20% minority requirement similar to Waukegan. You know, that's something that you guys may want to talk to with your attorney. So that's, at least on the county board's perspective, my take on it. I don't know if you have any questions or.
Lake County Housing Authority is independent from the county, is that correct?
It's just like the North Chicago Housing Authority.
Yeah.
So they have a separate board from us. They vote on all that. They are a HUD pass-through, similar to us passing through CDBG funds and other various federal funds.
So you're saying that they don't have the 20% rule, the housing,
We are not a home rule county,
the housing rule?
but Lake County as a whole isn't. So they
Right, so,
appoint their
okay,
board.
okay.
So they're not, nothing underneath us would be home rule.
questions. So you said Waukegan has,
A similar ordinance where they have 20% requirement. I know when they pass or when they do projects and they're not meeting that, the city council has to vote on those contracts.
and North Chicago does not have that.
I can't answer that. I'm not you guys' city
There you go.
attorney, so.
I've looked. I have not been able to find it.
Yeah, nothing there.
We need to create one.
A city, well, this is something different. Alderman January.
Thank you. I find it interesting that an ordinance disappeared again. I find it interesting being in the respects of, most of our ordinances mirror Waukegan. We are very similar in our ordinances. So for them to have it and us to not, I'm shocked. I find that very interesting. And I do know a couple of different ordinances have just magically disappeared that were here when I started as an alderman. So I don't know what we need to do, if maybe we need to research further, have the clerk maybe look into the records of city council minutes.
Check and see what has
and
been amended,
see if there
to see
even
if what was
something.
amended over.
Right, right. So,
Yes.
you know, because maybe that's what occurred. I don't know, but maybe there's needs to be some more research in our ordinances and in our past history, through our minutes of our meetings, and find out if there was something. Because there had to have been. I'm sure there had to have been.
We do need to find out.
Thank
Pass the
you.
gas.
And I just wanted to
Oh,
go quick, Commissioner, thank you for coming up and showing some support, because this is a crucial,
It's a multi-million-dollar project, one of the largest in the city.
it is, and we want to make sure that everyone in the community is being taken care of, everything is properly done, and, you know, now with the county board, Lake County Board knowing and aware of what the situation is, I appreciate you coming out tonight and our support. I do see our elect commissioner, Angela Kyle, is in the audience as well. So as you guys are transitioning over, you know, hopefully there'll be some smooth transitioning and continued support on this particular project and helping where you guys can. I know hands are a little tied, but I'm sure there's some support that can be given there and some discussions. So thank you.
Pass the gas.
Just one final thing, I want to say, since you mentioned local ordinance, I want to say as an educational piece, that local ordinances, for the most part, ain't worth the paper that they're written on, because the way they get around that is that when you issue a contract to a contractor, if that contractor is union, that project is gonna automatically be union. In order for you to get local anything in that, they issue you what they call a project label agreement for that particular contract, which, once the project label agreement is issued, it becomes a full union contract. So just make sure as you are dealing with local hire policy, you understand that if you're gonna try to get local contractors that's non-union, you have to somewhat mirror what's in section 3, that your language has to be specific, that if I award a contract to gas construction company and he's union, and another sub wins, Evans Construction Company win and he's non-union, he should not be debarred, he should not be hindered, he should be able to employ and perform at his level because he's a contractor. And that's how you have to do that, because without that, it's not worth the paper they're written on.
Okay.
Project label agreements are very costly, and all of that cost, by the way, is headed to the city. Because whatever the cost is for that agreement, you have to pick it up. The contractor who's a non-union has to become union. All of his workers has to become union. And just so you know, even though they can become union for that project, they can pay those fees, but they get to collect not $1 of that, because that project is over, they're over, and all that money is gone.
It's gone.
Thank you.
I understand. Thank you very much, Pastor.
I have learned more about unions and projects with this project that we have going today than I have really over the years. And I just be honest, I always thought that if you pay prevailing wages, you have a right to go onto a project. But coming to find out now that if you're awarded to a union, it stays union. And no one non-union can come in and do the work, whether you're paying prevailing wages or not. So that's one of the things that, again, we have to, as a city, make sure that there's some way that, especially on projects that we put together, can cover that.
Well, one thing I'm gonna say is that if you are the general contractor and you have a non-union project that you're starting, and then you get, union people involved, you still could work both
Right,
ways.
right,
Yes, you're
right,
still able to
exactly.
work both ways. So therefore, with this project, we have a person that's non-union, that's the general contractor. And they did hire a union contractor under there, but then they just wanna put it at a standstill. So they're not trying to work with the non-union contractor. So I don't want nobody to misunderstand what we got out here. It's just a mixture of mishandling the non-union and the regular union contracts, and the mix is not working for most of them because they're trying to bully someone into becoming a contractor, and it shouldn't be that way. Thank you. Item 2 is to review discussion of 601 10th Street special use permit.
Thank you, Alderman Evans. This is 601 10th Street is at the southwest corner of 10th Street and Wadsworth. This is a property that's currently owned by Clear Capital LLC. As you may recall, within the last year, Clear Capital has been before this committee and ultimately the city council seeking permissions or relief from the city ordinances. One property that comes to mind is 1325 Victoria. They were before the committee and ultimately the city council seeking a variation for a non-conforming structure variation. And the most recent one is 1700 Sheridan, seeking a special use permit allowing residential on the first floor commercial. And so 601 10th Street is Clear Capital's new purchase, new acquisition. This is a property that was previously owned by Catholic Charities. This is a property that's been vacant for quite some time. What Clear Capital proposes is to convert the existing property to 5 apartments with a total of 4 one-bedroom apartments, 1 studio apartment, and also create two commercial spaces, approximately 400 square feet each. The Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a public hearing on the requested special use permits. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended unanimous approval of the requested special use. In your placket, I have provided a plan that have been drawn up by Clear Capital's architect. Clear Capital is ready to submit for permit, and they'd like to get going with their project as soon as possible. They anticipate that the project will take approximately 3 months to complete.
Are there any questions? None?
Whose ward is this? Whose ward is this in?
This is Fisher's first ward, yes. Any questions?
Let me ask,
Mayor?
I'm sorry, Victor, this is kind of like the one that we just did at Sheridan, right? Sheridan Road, and
A little different, but for the most part the same. And I say different only because it's of a different magnitude. But when we're talking about converting the first floor commercial, yes, is exactly the same as 1700, where a portion of the commercial space is divided and used for residential use.
and those that may not had an opportunity to see the 1700 Sheridan Road one, where now Ink and Teas are located at, I think they've done an excellent job in regards to redeveloping that building and helping to make businesses and apartments come together and to bring a piece of property back onto the tax rolls with fully all the units already, acquired and moving forward on. So if this project can move in that same direction, I think that's a benefit to the city of North Chicago.
Okay, we have pending matters. Victor, I have a question.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know the exact address, but it's on the corner of 17th and Sheridan. It's a nail salon that's there now? Black Nails, that's correct. Is that opening soon, or what's going on with that? I just didn't recall it coming up here, that's why.
No, I appreciate it. Let me look into that matter and I'll report back at the next committee meeting. Is that all right?
Okay.
Thank you.
No more questions? Okay, at this time, I'd like to close the Economic Development Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. Roll call? No. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Mayfield, second by Alderman Markham. Roll call, please.
Alderman Fisher. Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen. Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Runnels.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up the Public Works Committee meeting. Roll call.
Alderman Fisher. Alderman Mayfield.
Present.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen. Alderman Markham.
Present.
Alderman Runnels.
Here.
Alderman January.
Okay, we have 9 items on that agenda. The first item will be to discuss of the 2018 motor fuel tax authorizing resolution allocating MFT funds for roadway maintenance purposes.
Good evening, everyone. In front of you, there's three documents. First document is a resolution to expend funds from your MFT funds in the amount of $3.1 million. The second item, document in there, is also another IDOT form, and that's your municipal estimate of maintenance costs. That document turns around and lists out all the different items that you're spending the funds on. So this is your annual, once a year, you turn around and you have to authorize your ability to utilize MFT funds. So such things as traffic sign maintenance, traffic signal maintenance, street lighting and repairs, pavement markings, pavement preservation, street sweeping, snow and ice removal, and then your MFT resurfacing contract, which this year, based upon the roads that you guys selected, we're combining for economy of scales for the roads that were selected last year in 2017. We've added it together. That's coming up to be about $2.2 million.
Are there any questions? Okay, well, we're gonna go to item 2, professional services proposal received from Trotter and Associates for exterior improvements at the water treatment plant.
This item is actually a very, there's actually 5 parts to it. This all relates, kind of stems from the, I think it was July 12th floods that occurred, the heavy rains. The water treatment plant, the road leading down to the treatment plant completely washed out. The treatment plant is also flooded as well. So there's 5 parts to this, and then we've had a number of other issues go down. Phase 1 of this contract relates to looking at and correcting and rebuilding the road, the main access road, which is Lakeview from Foss Park Road, leading all the way down to the water treatment plant. We'll turn around and look at how to correct the site so we can, number 1, do some preliminary engineering, and that is to estimate, well, we need to flood-proof the water treatment plant. It's flooded over the last few years. Is there a way to turn around and lower the profile of the road so you will always have positive drainage? And what I mean by that is water will always flow away from the water treatment plant. Another option there is to turn around and modify the cross-section of the road, and that is to turn around and what I'll call super elevated, and that is to tilt the road so the water flows away, flows to the north, away from the water treatment plant as you go down the hill. And then, so that's an option. And then the third option is to maybe do a combination of super elevate and then upsize the storm sewers that are on the site. So that's the whole purpose of the preliminary engineering, to evaluate everything, say what is our cheapest and best alternative.
Okay,
Phase 2 of that contract relates to the work that's actually within the fence line of the water treatment plant. And that is, we have some work that we have to do inside of it. That is, number one, we have some drainage problems right next to the building itself. How to best improve that, upsize the storm sewers, maybe put in a swale. We have water that comes down the hill from the Navy property on the backside. Maybe we can do a concrete paved ditch, which you kind of see similar. Another option is maybe to do a trough at the base of the retaining wall. If you've been out there at the water treatment plant, we can put in a concrete trough, kind of like a U-channel trough that'll turn around and allow us to get the water to go to the south side of the water treatment plant in a way. So that's part of that as well. We have a number of other items over there as well as part of phase 2. The concrete sedimentation tanks that are currently down at the base of the hill where the cul-de-sac bulb is. They're all marked up with graffiti. We're gonna turn around and realign the fence line and realign the roadway a little bit down there to make sure that's outside of the plant, improve security, and to paint it or put some sort of a brick facade on it as well.
All
So
right.
that's like your phase 2 portion.
Okay.
Phase 3.
Oh.
I'll go faster. For all
You got
phases. So the third phase of this is a new sanitary force main and lift station. Currently, believe it or not, the water treatment plant has a very small sanitary lift station that's located in the garage of the facility. And the pipe leading out of it's a really old cast iron pipe. It's only about 3 feet in the ground. And it freezes in the wintertime. So you can't flush the toilet. You can't turn around the floor drains in the plant. You can't drain. So over the years, when they don't have issues down there, they constantly run water to keep the water flowing through the pipe in an effort to keep it from freezing. So you have to take a look at it and say, okay, first of all, is this properly sized? And does it belong in the garage of the water treatment plant? Where outside of the plant do we have room to stick a small lift station or a lift station build put in there so we can turn around and pump the water up and out of there and to replace the sanitary sewer line? So that's phase 3 of the project. A lot of little things to do there. The fourth phase actually goes inside the plant and also part of the exterior of the plant. Fourth phase is, I think a lot of you have gone and toured the water treatment plant. You've seen that we've done a lot of painting and trying to improve things. Well, in order to finish that up, go out and continue measuring and documenting all the different rooms, create the schedule of values or the quantities for all the painting work that needs to be done. We've already completed the specifications. This will allow the city staff to put together bids and proposals as budgets allow in the future years to turn around and do that work, to bid that work out, whether it's on your floorings, on your pipes, and so forth. Also part of that is the exterior of the water treatment plant. We'll evaluate the exterior of the water treatment plant. A lot of people have looked at it and seen that, yes, we've had some drainage issues there, i.e. we put on the aluminum caps on top of all of the parapet walls out at the water treatment plant, where we just did the office area. That's to stop the water from getting in. We've had some drainage issues and some leaks, so we'll take a look at the outside of the plant as well. That was phase 4. Phase 5, the very last item, is the water treatment plant currently does not have backup power. This past year, we lost power down there twice, and we've never looked at really backup power for it. The fourth phase is literally to just do an analysis, provide you guys with some recommendations, ideas on what it would cost. What type of generator you'd be looking at. Is it natural gas? Is it cheaper to run a natural gas pipeline down there? What size it would have to be? Would it be a diesel generator? And also how big and where it would go. If anybody went down there this past year when we did lose power and ComEd came out there, you saw the size of the generators that ComEd has. Where do you put them? So that's the last phase.
Any questions? No? Okay, thank you. The next item is the request to extend the 2017 contract awarded to LRS Recycling of Morton Grove, Illinois, for 2018 street sweeping services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. LRS was our sweeping contractor last year, and they have offered the city an extension of that contract. When we bid that contract out in 2017, they in fact were the low bidder, and I'll be happy to provide you with those bid results to refresh your memory. LRS, excuse me, actually it was, when we bid the job out, it was awarded to Hobing Services or something. Anyway, Mr. Hobing was, at the time we were considering awarding that contract, was actually in the process of selling his company to Lakeshore Recycling Services. Lakeshore is a huge company. They have actually provided us with great equipment. They bought new equipment when they undertook the Hobing contract, and I think they did an admirable job for us last year. So it would be my recommendation. 2018 is the exact same price as 2017, and then they've included an option for 2019 for what they're asking for, an increase, but obviously we would negotiate that or whatever should the council find favor to re-award that contract to LRS. We should be starting that sweeping service during the month of May, beginning of May, so the timing is good.
No questions. The next item will be the presentation discussion, official renaming of 14th Street as it exists from Green Bay Road east to Sheridan Road as Audrey Nixon Boulevard.
Correct. So at the, again, mayor's request and with direction from the mayor and in conjunction with working with the adjoining communities that also have jurisdictional authority over portions of 14th Street. It is our desire, it's the mayor's desire, the city's desire, and it's my personal desire to see this renaming officially go through. Attorney Simon and his partner, Mr. Silverman, have worked through the resolution, worked through the wording. The mayor has reached out to the family, have gotten their input on what we're talking about in the resolution, and everybody is in agreement with it. We presented the same resolution to the city of Waukegan, so the jurisdiction is really between the city of North Chicago, the city of Waukegan, and Lake County Department's Transportation, or Lake County for the easternmost section from Jackson to Sheridan. Lake County understands the two communities' desire to rename the street in its entirety, and they're willing to work on that with us.
Any questions? Mayor?
Yes, I just, again, I appreciate all of Ed's work to try to continue to work with this. I have been in contact with the Mayor Cunningham to get the process going in Waukegan. And I just, I think that, again, we know that we have jurisdiction on the street as we speak now. Of course, as Lake County moves forward to redo the street, then we will lose that authority. So we wanted to try to get that in place now. If this is passed, Miss Nixon's birthday, I believe, is in June. I'd have to double check. I would love to be able to, at that day, have a ceremony at that time, bringing in the family with Waukegan and North Chicago and the county to do the renaming at that time. Always, I like to have it at 14th and Dugdale, where the roundabout is going to go at, because I know she's looking forward to that. So, but yes, I just think that it was appropriate for all that Ms. Nixon has done here in the city of North Chicago, for all of her hard work, and not just North Chicago, but for the county board, and making sure that North Chicago, Waukegan, and the county as a whole received all that we could in her efforts, so.
Alrighty, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we were gonna have, a discussion of professional services proposal received from Trotter and Associates regarding the development of a master plan for the city's water treatment plant and water distribution system.
Again, this is something that I've asked Steve to pull together for us, and he's been able to do that through the work of himself as well as his colleagues. So I'm going to let either Steve and/or Crystal Benson, if you want to come up and speak on this.
The water system master plan we previously presented the last two council meetings in committee. The whole purpose of a master planning document for your water system is to, number one, evaluate the existing city of North Chicago water infrastructure. And with that, the goal of it is to, after you evaluate it, is to determine what your short-term needs are and what your long-term needs are of the water plant and also the system as well. And based upon the existing condition as it is, as of right now, to develop a capital improvement plan. This is literally that. We're trying to figure out and assess what the condition is of the water treatment plant, of your water distribution system, what are your strengths, your weaknesses, and develop a plan, a capital plan to fix or to maintain what you have. With that, a big part of this is also, as you look at the water system, is you go out and you say, okay, what's coming up in the future? Are any of the regulations changing? You need to identify that. Do you need additional capacity? Are there users based upon your comprehensive plan that the city has? That there may be a new industrial user that comes in and, hey, do we have the capacity to serve that user? Or it could be that maybe Abbott says, hey, you know what? We're gonna reach out to them as part of the master planning exercise and then ask them, do you guys have a need for additional water? What is in your plan in the next 5 or 10 years? They may share it with us, they may not, but odds are they will. And so that's part of what the master planning document is all about. Again, the water treatment plan, it's going to be from the bottom up to the top. We're going to assess the existing condition of the water treatment plant, the process, and the equipment. As you go through the document, and I'll just quickly get to it. It starts on page 4. We list all the different items in there that we're going to really go out there and inspect and assess. That's all your existing processes and equipment. Whether it's the Lake Michigan intakes, the AbbVie low-lift raw water pumps, there's 4 of them, the water treatment plant, the chemical feeds and mixing systems, the rapid mix systems, the flocculation basins, pre-sedimentation basins, the settling basins, the rapid rate filters, the finished water clear wells, then you also have the finished water reservoirs, finished water high service pumps, there's 4 of those. Your disinfection system, your hydronumeric tank, which you have down at the plant, which is 30,000 gallons, which is one of your newest items. How you backwash your filters, and the pumps, the sludge holding tanks, the backwash holding tanks, the polymer mixing and feed systems, the centrifuge, and the sludge dewatering stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff down there.
Right.
And with that,
Yes.
I'll be quiet if you have questions.
Any questions? Mr. Benson, did you need to come up?
I think Steve did an excellent job of summarizing it.
Okay.
Really, what we're trying to prepare here is a capital improvement plans, but another way of looking at it is a roadmap of how do you get from today to where your vision of where you're going in the future, and be able to plan for it and budget for it accordingly.
Right.
Rather than reacting when something fails or breaks, and then everything's done in an emergency at in developing the maintenance program that can be implemented to extend the life of the equipment longer than it may otherwise last.
Thank you. Any questions? Alderman January.
I have a question, I just have a comment. This is long overdue, gentlemen, Mayor, way long overdue. Finally, I am seeing something that's of a realistic plan for the city. I thank you so much for bringing this forth. It's gonna be very hugely important. I know day one of me moving into this city and my husband becoming more involved, I've heard how important our water treatment plant is, and that we are to make sure we take good care of it. And it's about time. That's all I can say. Thank you. We'll take a good look at this, and I am looking forward to seeing the actual plans and how they look going forward, because we do need to think about our future, something that has not been happening here in North Chicago. Now we can start looking forward instead of always reacting as things happen. So thank you.
I too am extremely excited about this. It is a chance for us to develop processes. My staff has been for the past 6 months reviewing the existing SOPs, writing new SOPs. Part of what they will do is review what we have written to see if it really, how can we improve it, and then assemble all of these documents together into a master operational plan and strategy and process for that plan. So we will be setting it up for the next 100 years.
There we go.
Money well spent.
Okay, item 6.
3.
Huh? Item 6.
Yeah.
Item 6, discussion of proposal received from Northern Divers USA, Inc. of Spring Grove, Illinois, to hydronically clean both the raw water intake lines and wet wells at the water treatment plant.
So thank you again, Mr. Chairman. With us this evening is Mr. Frank Rosalone. He's the owner of a company called Northern Divers USA. We met, Steve, myself, a group of individuals from AbbVie about a week and a half ago. AbbVie has brought to our attention the need to see if the purpose of the meeting was for Steve, because we need to get our sewers televised that run under AbbVie's property, and they have been not quite as responsive as we would have liked to have seen. So we called this meeting, and then they had some other matters to talk about. And one of them was what they need to do, and they need to fix their water intake line. We don't need to fix ours, we just need to be able to supply their needs. So what they need to do is take their line out of service, and when they do that, they need to rely on the city of North Chicago to be able to supply them a certain volume of water. And so what my staff had done previous to this was actually do a little test run of the capacity of the pumps to see if they all worked. And so what we found was, for reasons that we believe are related to some blockages in the accumulation of sand, silt, and debris in the intake line, we physically cannot get enough water in to pump the volume that our pumps are capable of pumping. So they had to turn a pump off, and I'll let Frank go on and talk about the rest of it. But basically, his company will come in following their work in Lake Forest. Prior to their work for AbbVie, they will insert us into their rotation to clean our intake line from to the point of intake out in the lake. So he'll push water a mile out into the lake simply to remove the sand, silt, and debris that has accumulated in that intake line over a period of years. We have 2 intakes, a 28-inch or 24-inch, and a 40 and a 42. You'll first clean a smaller diameter one before he starts the large diameter one. The plant will operate on the small diameter intake line while he works on the large diameter. Then he will put them both back in service. Right? Steve?
just to help clarify what Ed was describing, we had a meeting with AbbVie. AbbVie has a problem with their lake intakes. They're clogged, and that they also need to complete some repairs on the land. So they're asking the city to provide them with all their raw water, so they can turn around and cool their buildings, their chillers. The city currently has an agreement in place to provide AbbVie with raw water, up to 35 million gallons per day, and the city typically averages somewhere around 20 million gallons a day in the summer months is what we've been pumping to AbbVie. AbbVie asked and requested that, hey, we need you to guarantee that you can provide us 30 million gallons per day. And the city currently can't do that. We need to clean the lines in order to provide them and get them to their guarantee of 30 million gallons per day for the raw water. And that's where Strength and Northern Divers comes in. They're going to be able to turn around and clean and jet out both lines, the 42-inch and the 20-inch line, so we can provide AbbVie with the water that we said we could. With that, I'll let kind of explain how they propose on doing that.
Good evening, everybody. What Northern Divers does is we force clean these mains the full length of the intakes. We range anywhere from 24 inches to 10 feet in diameter, 200 feet long to 10,000 feet long. The reason why we have to clean these intakes is what happens over the years as you're bringing in water at low quantities. The lake gets stirred up from storms and everything else, and that sand ends up laying into the pipe. And it slowly builds up to the almost where it's almost shut off. But then during the summer months, when you up your plant to more water, you bring all that turbidity in. And a lot of plants, what they're doing is they're cleaning the wet wells and the riser pipes out on the lake. Well, you have to do that every single year to even see any little bit of a sign of improvement. By cleaning the whole pipe, you're giving yourself a whole brand new system. So what we do is we force clean those mains with 0 to maybe 8 pounds of pressure, and we put that material back into the lake where it came from by velocity. So what we do is we have the water going into the intakes at a slow stream. Our divers are in the water monitoring it the whole time. Once we get the velocity moving, we turn the velocity up higher, and we push all that debris back into the lake. Any questions?
Alderman January.
Do you use cameras at all to
Yes.
monitor?
Everything is videoed and photographed the whole time.
Where
Alderman
pressure is
Mayfield.
collapsing?
No, there's no pressure to collapse the pipe.
Said you were pushing water through to get,
It's velocity, right?
right.
So it's very little.
Okay.
Like 7 feet a second with maybe 6, 7 pounds of pressure.
So we asked that question too, because we're concerned about, you know, the pipe is designed to allow water to come in, and he was pushing it back, but he assures us, and Mr. Benson agrees with him, that it's such a small PSI, 0 to 6 PSI, 8 PSI, that he will actually be pushing the water out. It's just the movement of the water, it's a lot of water, but no pressure, because there's no restriction at the end. So the pressure builds up when you have a restriction. So he's gonna put through an amount of water that the pipe can handle, therefore it won't build up that pressure.
Okay, Alderman Mayfield.
I was going to add something along those lines. Would this damage the pipes at all? So you've already answered that. Another question is, how often should the cleaning of the pipes be done to this extent?
We have contracts with like 4 municipalities on the west side of Lake Michigan for once every 3 years.
Okay.
The reason why they do that is they don't do any intern cleaning of wet wells or anything except for during that 3-year period. Because before in their contract, they had people coming out and do it every year. And found out that after the cleanings, 3 years, and then it's done every 3 years.
answering, we just asking questions, right?
Yeah, see, when I did the City of Lake Forest, I'm starting to do theirs on Monday. 3 years ago, I did it for the first time. Right after I did it, their water quality improved so much that I put in permanent piping in their plant to just have my equipment come out, hook it up, clean out their intakes, and go home. The pipe that you have, the 42-inch, I wanna take in, there's a 90 in a pit that's there, and the 90's gonna come up through the concrete. We have to go through that, tie onto that pipe. So what I wanna do is I wanna make a permanent pipe coming up with a new cap, so we can just do it right from shore if you ever wanna do it again.
Ed, when was the last time that we had this done?
So I asked staff, last time they cleaned the entire pipe that for its distance, and they can go back 20 years with no memory of it ever being done.
Oh, okay. But from now on, we will be doing it every 3 years or so?
So we do that limited cleaning every year that
Okay.
Frank has spoken of, and we're cleaning what comes in because we didn't take care of what's out in the lake. So if we get on a regular rotation where Frank can come in, because his process is different than any other diving service, because he forces water back out and flushes it from the plant back into the lake. The others tend to, we spend a lot of money on videotape and robot services, and, divers taking the sand out of the wet wells inside the plant, because we didn't address the problem that where it's at is out in the lake, out in the pipe. We did a sonar evaluation of the intake line a few years back that I'm told revealed the presence of a number of mounds within that pipe. So as Frank says, the sand comes in, the sand settles out, ultimately comes forward towards the plant, piles into piles, creates some turbulence, and that water turbulence moves a certain amount of sand into another pile. So his process will reverse that and push it all back into the lake.
Thank you.
City Attorney?
Thanks,
Hi. Frank, the contract you presented to us says that late payments accrue interest at 18% per day. Are you willing to agree to apply the interest rate that applies under the Local Government Prompt Payment Act?
Yes, without a doubt. No,
Thank you.
see, I tried to explain it. I have, those contracts are for like contractors, not municipal contracts. That was given to Ed for numbers and information. I'm expecting a new contract from you guys under mine.
Okay, so you understand, this is not your responsibility. The city council is being asked to approve a contract tonight at the city council meeting.
Right.
Which I don't think we have, based on what you've just said.
Well, most of the municipalities that I deal with, like Lake Forest and stuff, I'll give them that contract, the same exact thing, and then they'll rewrite it or do whatever they want to it, and then we get a contract agreement.
We can do that, but we haven't been asked to do that yet, and they're being asked to approve it tonight at the city council meeting in a few minutes.
So I think my motion that will be read will ask that the contract be finalized, and upon agreement on the finalization, when both parties are good to it, then it will be
No,
signed.
no. Okay.
Yeah, I have no problem changing that, I mean,
Thank you.
Oh, Frank, yeah, I'm just curious, divers.
Yes.
Among those divers, are they ex-Navy divers?
2 of them are.
Ah, they're my shipmates, okay, that's what I wanted to.
We did the intake cleaning at the Great Lakes Navy Base,
All right, good.
so we dealt with all the divers over there. See, our dive teams are usually between 4 and 5 guys. At the Navy, you have to have 12, so it was kind of crazy.
Okay.
11 guys standing around watching you, so it was fun.
Alderman January.
So you do have a contract with the Great Lakes Naval Base?
No, I don't have a contract with them, I had one with them
When?
in 2014 or 13.
Reason why I'm asking is, if I remember correctly, and I'm sure Alderman Mayfield or former Alderman Charles January, who's present in the chambers, can help me recall, 7 years ago, this topic came up about cleaning the water plant, pipes. And if I remember correctly, there was some discussion, and again, you would have to help me because I was not on the council, I was a member in the audience. There was discussion of having the military divers take care of our pipes and cleaning them. And they'll do it for free. So what, am I wrong? Am I wrong in what I'm talking about? I don't know.
Yeah, you must be,
don't-
because
There
I
was
clean
a
everything.
there was discussion though about the cleaning of the pipes and they were cleaned 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. 6 or 7, I don't know.
6 years and I did.
Okay.
Not for us, you didn't,
No, then for the Great Lakes Navy Base.
for the Great Lakes
They have
Naval
one
Base.
36-inch intake, 10,000 feet long.
Okay.
All right. Mayor Rockingham.
I'm a little, I just
Go ahead.
recall some sort of discussion about cleaning pipes.
Okay.
I don't know if it ever got done or what happened, but there was discussion. I just remember being told that there was, the military could come and send their divers down. While they're cleaning theirs, they can come over and clean ours.
Mayor Rockingham.
Yes, quick question. I know we have, the chlorine in our pipes, you know,
Yes.
this won't affect those at all, or?
No, see, that's why I came up with this idea, is because what we do with velocity in water does not damage the pipe at all. The
Okay.
internal pipe stays right where it's in place, and the water actually just skims right over the top of it.
Okay.
Instead of going in there where we used to do with the pig, which is a big balloon that you blow up that eats up everything inside the pipe,
Mm-hmm.
that will destroy a chlorine line.
Okay.
Or you have to remove it before you even put a pig in there.
Uh-huh.
What this does, it keeps everything in place, and just gets rid of all this debris.
Okay, very good. And then my next question is to Trotter. In your master plan, I see you're be doing the same thing that he's getting ready to do. Will this come out and make it a little bit easier on this side?
Certainly, I mean, part of the first thing that we had listed in there is we were going to assess the condition of the
2 intakes.
two intakes and the, you know, part of the methodology of going about that was I wanted to see what the drawdown would be with a clean pipe and what we're experiencing to determine what the condition and the need for cleaning is.
Right.
Obviously, we spent some time looking at that last week.
Mm-hmm.
We discussed, and, you know, we kind of were addressing that issue now, and I always suspected that the cleaning of the intakes would be, sort of the top priority items in the capital improvement plan.
Okay.
I think the answer to your right thing is, the 3-year recurrence interval. What I would suggest is that we run the calculations and come up with a protocol that you can monitor the performance of the pipe. You may not have to do it in 3 years. It may be flowing
Maybe 4 or
fine.
5.
It may be, or 6 or 7, it may be 2. I don't think so, but we wouldn't just automatically clean it every 3 years. Maybe in the long-term budget, we'd say, okay, we'll put it in there every 3 years, but we wouldn't actually do it until we're observing that it is getting fouled and it's impacting operations.
So what Lake Forest did is they took, after I cleaned it, and they just kept a total chart of all the water that they brought in.
Water levels and
They look at
flow
their NTU, the turbidity and all that stuff, and they take months of records of that stuff. They found, depending on the storms out there and what happens and how much debris they bring in, 3 years was their comfort zone. The other thing that made them really comfortable is that they're putting in new filters. They didn't want that to get dirty water.
Alderman January.
Thank you, Chairman. My apologies, I did get confirmation of what was happening about 7 years ago. is that there was, work done twice to remove the mussels from the line. So for you to sit there, Ed, and say nothing's been done in 20 years, there was some cleaning done. It was mussels, it was done twice. And that was where the discussion came in with the military, with the naval base, to send their divers over to help clean those. And there would be no charge to do that because it's like an exercise for them. So that's what I was recalling in my head.
So I was the messenger for the 20-year comment, because I asked that question of my staff.
Just that there was some cleaning, there was cleaning done, and if it wasn't done, where did that money go that we spent? So, my other question is, what is the cost for your services, sir?
What was that?
What will be the cost for the service to be done? the cleaning?
$260-something thousand.
$268,000 and $400. It's on page 3 of 3.
I was at the water plant about 8 or 9 years ago. And I looked at the wet well and a couple of things over there. And when I came back to the water plant 2 weeks ago, and see the difference between it was when I was there last. It's like a brand new water plant. I'm totally amazed at the new valves, the new system, the way everything looks, it looks really nice.
We're making every effort.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, is this something that will be in the budget?
So we
Do we
will
have
take,
the,
we will, yes, I talked to Danielle about that already. When we go and adopt the final budget, we will move money around. There's sufficient funds in the water budget. We just need to identify it for this. So part of his agreement calls for a mobilization fee in the amount of $75,000. So that check would be cut with the first bill cycle of May, and that would come out of the current budget, which we'll find a spot for that. The balance of the work will come out of next year's budget. So again, between now and the time the final budget is presented to you, we will have moved and identified that and made it clear within the 18-19 budget, 17-18.
okay. Alright. And then last thing, just to the chair, I do recommend that we wait
I was gonna, yep.
to approve the proposal, until we have that final contract available.
Thank you. Two minds think alike, right? Because that's what I was gonna suggest, that before we do this, to have the contract official for us.
Could I ask a question in regards to that?
Yes, go right ahead.
When, you say you're doing Lake Forest now?
We're doing Lake Forest starting, we already started hauling equipment over there.
Okay.
As soon as we're done with Lake Forest, we wanted to
Come to North Chicago next.
North Chicago because AbbVie
Is the next.
to be next,
So how long does it take to do Lake Forest?
week and a half.
But you don't have a contract, Mayor. And what we need to do is make sure we get these contracts.
We can get it done. I mean, the time, if you give us direction to do it, there's no problem with the timing. I just wasn't sure that what you were being asked to approve.
Yeah, but I mean, if we gon', we gotta come to a point where we gotta just make sure this stuff is in order before it comes up here to us. Cause we don't even have a contract. So I understand what you're saying about, you can just do it, but let's get into a habit of having this stuff ready for us so that it can be done.
Well, I think the reason that it
And I know it's
wasn't-
AbbVie.
No, well, yeah, but it is ADVI, and they came to us within the 2-week, they would've, I think, presented it to us earlier if that was a possibility. And yeah, you're right, it is ADVI. They are one of our major customers for water, And I think their concern is they've got from what I understand, damage in their pipe. It's not just a maintenance. not just a maintenance, it's actually, they've got damage, just like we've had damages at our plant, and they've pretty much dropped everything to make sure that we had valves, we had whatever we could do, whatever they could do to assist us at that plant, because of their concerns of making sure that we stayed up and running. I think it would only be appropriate for us to do the same thing in regards to them if they've got a major break in their line trying to get it repaired. That's, I mean,
Mayor, they don't have a major break in their line. What they have is whoever was maintaining their intake risers on the lake cut their chlorine lines for some reason, and all their chlorine lines went into a ball 500 feet from the plant. That we have to address that. It's not, you know, it's at the point where it ain't gonna shut off their water, but it's not gonna give them the volumes that they want.
and I think that's part of, again, being good service between the two of us. Again, whenever we call on them, whether it's bringing engineers over to help us to evaluate or bringing parts over to help us to keep our pumps running. Again, if we're not just saying to be good neighbors.
Okay, in the future, what we need to do is to make sure Ed, yourself, or anybody else, contracts, things that needs to be done, we need to have that stuff before we vote on these items. I'm not saying.
That I agree.
I mean, that's just, I mean, because coming up here, and it's nothing against the contractor, but if we don't have this stuff, and then you come up with, we want to see it finalized. So, I mean, it's only fair to the council. And instead of just saying what's gonna happen, we need to have it in writing, this is what's gonna happen. Okay?
I totally agree with you. If you remember when I first started, one of the first things I came to the council with for the water plant was an emergency something or another. And then a couple weeks later, I came up with yet another emergency something or another. I went back to my staff and I said, we're done with emergencies. An emergency is truly an emergency, but what you're asking for is not an emergency. So
Right.
we need that started where we're going with this proactive maintenance, and I agree with you all.
Okay. All righty, thank you. Oh, wait, nope, we're
One
not
thing I
done.
will say that,
Yes.
yes, the contract should have went to our attorneys to be, before it was brought to us.
Right.
I agree on that.
Okay, the next item is the presentation, discussion of proposal received from Solution Mechanical, Inc. of Oswego, Illinois, to add recommended equipment to both boilers at the water treatment plant and waive bids.
So this is a matter where we have new boilers, as you know, in the water plant, and they are under warranty by the manufacturer as well as by the installer. So last year, when we had the boilers put in, we asked the contractor for pricing to add these items to the boilers because they were not included in the bid specs that were developed. That was one of the first contracts that Chris pulled together for boiler replacement. If you remember, here we had boilers that Mr. Soto had said for several years needed to be replaced, and we got some extra time out of it. So these are the air scrubbers that will be added to each set of boilers that will automatically remove air bubbles from the water lines so that they don't get trapped in a heater down the road, down the line. So that the heaters run efficiently with pure water as opposed to a mixture of water and air. So this is an item that could have been added at the time of the installation, but again, when that project was going forward, we were going into winter, and it would have added a couple-week delay, and I didn't want to spin that chamber one more time, because again, we don't want the plant to get cold, because when the plant gets cold, it doesn't run. So my concern was, at that time, to get the boilers up, get them operational, get heat back in that building, warm that plant up, and we can always come back and add the scrubbers, which is what this contract will do.
Are there any questions? No. Okay, we're gonna have a discussion, recommendation to award contract to BP&T Incorporation of Mount Prospect, Illinois for 2018 hydrant painting services.
So this was a bid item through Lake County Municipal League. They advertised for bids, open bids, and BP&T was the low bidder for the Lake County Municipal Cooperative Agreement for hydrant painting. Each municipality that participated in the cooperative bidding put forth a number of hydrants, an estimated quantity that they would want included in the contract. Our number happened to be 250. It was pulled out of the hat. It was a percentage of our system. We used to paint a percentage of our system every year on a rotational basis, and I'd like to get back to that. And with this number, a couple hundred, 250, that'll be about 15 years, and we'll make it through the whole city with all the hydrants being painted. As part of this process, and in line with the Trotter Master Plan and aligned with the Chief's Fire Operational Plan, we will add color differential to the hydrant caps so that Chief's engine company and responding firefighters will know what volume of water should be able to come out of that fire hydrant. Because we have some very small capacity hydrants and we have some on large diameter mains. And so the color, their SOP, their standard is to paint the caps based upon the ability of the hydrant to deliver a certain quantity of water. So we will add that to this. BP&T is the contractor that we had for the water plant interior painting and the cap operation.
Alderman Markham.
We had this done before. Who did it before? What company did the painting before?
That, I'm sorry, I can't answer that because that happened before I ever got here.
Okay. I just for clarification, when we go through the Lake County Municipal League for these contracts, does that exclude other companies? For example, if we have a company that's in the city, I mean, they're excluded, right, when you go through this?
No, actually not.
Okay.
Lake County Municipal League,
Mhm.
I happened to, one of the first things I did when I got here was write the language of the contracts that they use. So
Mhm.
there's a part 1 and a part 2. And basically, as long as you meet certain criteria, you can bid on the contracts. And the
Okay.
criteria are not very, it's not a high hurdle to meet the qualifications to bid.
Okay, and this project is to be done when?
During the summer, sometime between now and the end of when
So
it's-
it'll be in this upcoming budget?
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the things to do that, I would prepare a list of hydrants within each of the wards that we'd have for a 10-year program, right? So you would have some expectation that over the next 10 years, these hydrants should all be repainted. And so they, in addition to painting it, they take the caps off, they lube the caps, they replace the seals if they need to be, the gaskets that close it. So it's not just
Painting.
slop out
Right.
some paint. They
Okay.
sandblast it, clean it, take away the spoil, because anytime you take paint off a hydrant, unless you're gonna do an analysis and it has lead in it, they assume there's lead and they take the appropriate
Take it
precautions
down, okay.
for the removal part.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to item 9. Discussion to award a contract to Superior Road Striping for 2018 pavement marking services.
So that item I would actually like to withdraw and re-present to you at a later date.
All righty, thank you. At this time, I would like to close the Public Works Committee meeting.
Second.
Moved by Alderman January, second by Alderman Markham. Roll call?
Alderman Fisher, Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen, Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Runnels.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Okay, I'd like to open the Building License Community Development Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Alderman Fisher, Alderman Mayfield.
Present.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen, Alderman Markham.
Present.
Alderman Runnels.
Here.
Alderman January.
Present. I have a 5-line item agenda. First is review, discussion of taxi ordinance discussion of Lake County honor flight, discussion of rideshare, discussion of hybrid code enforcement, community service officer proposal, and pending matters. First one is the taxi ordinance, and, oh, there he is. Chief Perez and I have been in contact with this and worked on it, and I think we finally have a draft sitting in front of you this evening, and hopefully you've had time to look at it for some of the changes that have been made to the current ordinance. So I'll open it to Chief Perez to go over some of that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Some of the changes that have been made to the ordinances, we unified both, as you recall, we had an A and a B license. Those have been unified, so all 15 cab companies that service the city currently, are actually 14, and we're asking to add an additional one, can operate on a citywide basis. Also, the fee structure per cab has been changed. Before we had $600 for the B licenses and $1,000 per A license cab. We're proposing that gets changed to $500 across the board. The other changes are highlighted in red in your packets. One of which is any cab company that currently exists can have up to 25 cabs. If they have any additional cabs, the company itself must pay $750 a year per cab. An additional $5 surcharge will be allowed for taxi services rendered between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. If you recall, those were the hours where we were getting complaints by our residents that taxis were not picking up, so we're hoping this is an incentive for them to do that. Taxi cabs also operating between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. May require passengers to prepay their fares via credit card or debit card. And ultimately, taxi cab company operators may impose a cancellation fee not to exceed $5 for any fares canceled, provided customers has not waited longer than 20 minutes for a taxi. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Any questions? Comments? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and, Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to state that I know that the police department has been working on this for quite some time.
Mhm.
I think it is a reasonable request that they're trying to make changes to, and hopefully it will also give that opportunity for our residents and guests of North Chicago that are looking to try to receive that taxi or get that ride between that 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock hour, that this will kind of help to supply that. I know we have met on several occasions with the taxi drivers or the taxi, different taxi services that we have here in the community. They understand it. They're well aware of what the direction we're going in. And I think this is moving in the right direction to help to, again, give that service to the residents.
And that's what I'm glad to see that. My only comment that I have looking at this, and I did apologize to Chief Perez, I just have had a very busy weekend, and haven't had a chance to really talk to him this past couple of days. But looking at how things are looking at on here right now, under section 5-25B-4, licenses required, B, number 2 and 3, I wonder if they're even applicable at this point. This is stating in here that the passenger vehicle company has to have a physical address and location within the city. If they don't, they're charged. And that they have to have a regular telephone service landline. Nowadays with technology and computers and cell phones and all the availability out here, is this something that, and I'm putting this out to the alderman, to the mayor, do we want to continue with this in our ordinance, or do you think it's something that now we need to take back out?
I'm
You
sorry,
know,
which one are you at? I try to keep,
it's on
Five
the
dash-
second page, E, 1, 2, and 3.
oh, okay.
We had originally put this in when there was a change over from JB Cabs when he sold his business. This was entered into the ordinance back then, and I'm thinking at this point, is it something that is still current today? Is it something that's applicable for what's going on out there? I know of only one cab company that I believe is still within our city limits with a physical location. So my recommendation would be to remove it. I don't see it in any of our other local municipalities and their ordinances for taxi cabs. But that's why I want to put it out to council, to mayor, to our city attorney, is to, you know, what's everybody's thoughts on that one?
I guess for
Go
those
ahead.
that don't adhere to this, they pay an additional, what, $1,000 to?
Yes, sir.
Are they paying it though?
Yes. There's two companies, that- and it only applies to the B licenses. So there's 3 companies that are affected by it currently. 2 of those licenses, or 2 of those cab companies operate outside the city. They pay the city $1,000 a year. And one of them operates, like you said, within the city.
This
Okay,
will-
but that was under, I know that like the A license was one of these that this was basically put in for, because of what happened. But,
This will apply to everybody now.
Yes, it would apply to everybody.
yeah,
It did not apply to the A licenses under the old.
So I sort of have a split opinion on these.
I mean, that's why I'm asking is
So,
to council.
Insofar as creating an incentive to locate a business office in the city, I think it improves their customer service and it can make them
Right.
more responsive to the customers because they can go to the office and resolve issues that they may have. With respect to how you communicate with them, I do think that the regulation certainly can be responsive to what everyone uses nowadays in terms of smartphones or cell phones or mobile phones, whatever you would want. And we don't really use phone books any longer. Most everyone Googles things. So insofar as 2 is concerned, I think that there's a public service benefit that would, enhances the regulation and helps it make it more customer friendly for your residents. Section 3, I think, can be updated to be more modern.
Okay. Anyone else have comments regarding that? Okay. And then also under B, number 5, where we say that 15 taxi companies' license will be in effect at any given moment in time. I was just reviewing with Chief that in the Gurney's ordinance, they have up to 19 total. I know you said we gave 1 extra, but do we want to look at adding a few more, or?
Gurnee does not have a limit on the number of licenses.
Mhm.
Or companies that they license. However, currently they have 4 cab companies that operate in Gurnee with a total of 19 cabs.
Oh, a total of 19 under them, okay.
By
Okay.
contrast, we have 14 and we have about 75 cabs.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. And then as far as the cost, I know there was some concern from the licensee about it being 500. And I know a couple of the other areas, they do like 300 every year for 4 to 9 taxi cabs, 500 for 10 to 50 taxi cabs. I don't know, is there a way that we can look at the amount and maybe, Because again, they're trying to make a living too, you know, and,
We started at 7-something, I think 750.
oh, okay,
And we went
okay,
back down to 500.
okay.
Because, again, the B was paying 1,000,
Mm-hmm.
and the A was paying
600.
600, so they actually
Okay,
went
so
down.
it went
and-
down,
and-
okay.
And actually, both of them will go down, so.
Right, okay.
So we're actually,
And the companies that we talked to, at least the ones that were represented there, seemed to be.
They were okay with, okay. Okay. Those were my only comments that I had, that I kind of wanted to throw on the council floor and see what kind of response and what we'll look at. So at this point, I guess the recommendation would be to kind of modernize and update that number 3. Make the verbiage a little bit more modern. It's on the second page for those of you that had to step out. We're looking at under license required, number 2 and 3. Otherwise, I think everything looks good. I think it's in the right direction. The fees for different things look really in line with what's needed, so.
so can I ask if we put this on the council for,
Yeah, I would say once, make that little update in that number 3. Yeah, we can look at, I'll put it back on for committee, look at it, and then we can vote the same night.
It'll be ready.
All right, so well, it'll be 3 weeks. We have an extra Monday in here, so, okay. All right, any other comments or questions on the ordinance? Thank you, Chief, so much for your hard work and watching that. Don't go too far. We'll quickly jump to the application for Lake County Honor Flight. It's in your packet. Everything's obviously appropriately and is there. It looks like everybody signed off that needed to sign off. So any questions or comments with the application for Lake County Honor Flight? All right, with that, the Lake County Honor Flight is taking some of the veterans out to Washington DC in the next couple of weeks on April 29th. Let's see, they're actually, yeah, that's what I was looking at. They return on April 29th, and the welcoming home ceremony will be right here in our Veterans Memorial Park on 18th and Sheridan. Starts around about 12 p.m. Around 4? Oh, well, the setup is for 12 then? Okay. So then around, between 12 and 8, they say, but it's usually around 4 o'clock they roll in, and the festivities get started. So please come out and attend that. And I know they are currently looking for motorcycle riders, is what I think I saw. So any motorcycle riders that could join them and escorting them to and back from the airport would be greatly appreciated. They also have a date of August 12th for another return home. Same location, same times. So we'll be hearing more about that when August comes. All right. Since there's no questions with that and everything looks good. The next item is the discussion of ride shares. I had asked the clerk's office to put in the ordinance regarding the ride share. I think it's TNR ordinance is the name of it, but it never got in, so I apologize. But really what I wanted to address is I had some concerns and calls from our cab companies and our cabbies that the Uber drivers are lining up along gate number 5. And it's across the street. There's that building, warehouse type building. And then right in front of that building is a little area that looks like a gravel, like somebody's been driving through gravel. They're lining up over there, and they shouldn't be lining up. They are not supposed to be standing there waiting for rides. So I was wondering if we could possibly maybe put a sign over there like we have over at the train station for Great Lakes, that it says, you know, only for authorized taxi cabs. So if we could, you know, maybe look into that, that might help the situation. And also, they let me know that they've been lining up in their taxi line over at the station, the train station. So if you can kind of keep an eye on that with your officers driving around, that would be great. And that's Uber and Lyft have been sitting there waiting, and they really shouldn't be sitting waiting. So if we can look into that, I'd greatly appreciate it, because, you know, we hear all the time from the taxis that it's financially hurting them and their bottom line, and so I think if we can keep them from congregating, because that's not the purpose of Uber and Lyft. They're not to congregate there, they're to drive on. And I have driven past several different times, and I haven't seen anyone sitting and waiting, but I have to believe our taxi drivers. I'm not out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so if we can keep an eye on those areas, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if we can get a sign maybe, I don't know, check it out, because I don't know, I think that's part of our property, or the city has control there. So if you can check it out, that'd be great, okay? And then I have on agenda discussion of hybrid code enforcement community service officer proposal. And this was brought to me by our chief of staff, Deb, so I'll let her go through what this is about.
Hi, good evening. What I'm bringing to you for discussion is an idea, and I'd like to receive some feedback on it. So I have the chief and the director of community development here. We all ride through the city, and when I ride through the city and I see a tire in the road, I gotta call Public Works. I see tall grass, I gotta call the building department. An abandoned vehicle, I gotta call the police department. So, in trying to come up with ways to save some money and do things a little bit more efficiently, we came up with this kind of hybrid code enforcement community service officer position. We researched what was going on in some other communities. One community, the village of Matawa, does something like this. They contract with House Security. They call it Matawa Patrol. They don't do the same things they're not looking for the same things that we look for. They are an equestrian community, so this person goes out and chases horses and helps vehicles on the side of the road and things like that. But basically, the idea is the same. The total cost for this is under $62,000. We are not going to hire for a deputy chief, but that was included in the amount that I gave to you earlier, which was the $1 million. We are not currently we haven't hired a neighborhood services manager, and so we were thinking that the money from this would come out of a combination of the two or the neighborhood services manager, and that would be a savings of approximately $40,000. The $62,000 is total for the person, all of the stuff that is related to the person, the insurance, the workers' comp, blah, 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 and the vehicle. So this is just an idea. I would like to get some feedback from you to see if we should pursue it or not.
Any questions, comments?
Did I cover everything?
Alderman Markham, go ahead.
So now this is not a sworn officer, is that correct?
No, it's a community service officer. They have no arrest authority, and they wouldn't be carrying a firearm.
So they can issue citations such as parking for abandoned vehicles, anything that's a non-traffic citation to enforce.
Okay.
Alderman?
Savings, 40,000?
About $40,000, because to hire the neighborhood services manager, that all-in cost would be over $100,000.
To also free up our own people too from doing that sort of thing.
Correct?
Picking up tires and whatnot. Okay, I'm for it.
Yes, we asked House Security to get a pickup truck, so if they see debris in the road, pick it up when you see it. Yeah.
I'm with it.
Yes, Alderman Mayfield?
Now,
I think it's a great idea. combining these two areas and having them write, you know, some citations and also going around the community, looking for things that many times aldermen end up calling about. So I think it's great.
We're hoping that we don't get any lists from any aldermen anymore.
You will.
I have a feeling Alderman Evans would like to chime in.
No.
No?
See?
Okay, very
We're hoping your gas costs
Because you're
go
giving
down.
us that look, like, I got something to say. Okay, okay. Just want to
Now-
make sure you have every opportunity.
Thank you.
So it says assisting with animal control. Now, is that person taking the place of the animal control, or just gonna?
It'll serve to augment it, not to replace it.
Okay. And that's through this this company?
House Security
Yes.
is located in Lake Bluff.
Right.
Charlie Howe was the chief of police in Lake Bluff. He's very familiar with the community. He has the contract for North Chicago Community Bank.
I just, I'm just questioning, we don't have people here that could do this?
Well,
That live in this community that work with, security companies?
we may, the reason, and like I said,
Mhm.
it's just an idea and I'm looking for feedback.
Okay.
The reason why we look at House Security is because they're already providing this type of service in another municipality in Lake County.
Okay.
Okay. And similar on that line, most of the time we go out when we have something that is a project, we do kind of bid with different places. So I would probably say to look at some other bids from other places to see if they maybe will come in a little lower. My other thing is, which budget is this gonna come out of? Since it's kind of a joint
Since it's a
effort.
hybrid.
Mhm.
Well, it's either, so here's the thing, when I came before you and gave you the $1 million in cuts, part of that was the deputy chief.
Mm-hmm.
So we already have in the budget now, which hasn't been taken out of it, the neighborhood services manager. The majority of it would come out of the ECD budget.
And that's who you would recommend that they report to? Is to economic development, or?
No, we would come, all of the three of us would create the plan for the person.
But who would they report to?
They would either have to report, depending on what their plan is for that particular time period, they would either report to the chief or Victor.
Okay, so not one specific person.
No.
They would have two people that they would report to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it sounds great. I would recommend that we look at, see if there's maybe somebody in security that lives in North Chicago as well. It's
So-
basically a position that we're creating,
Well,
so.
that's the thing, is if you want to create a position and post for it, now, we're gonna have to buy the vehicle and pay for the maintenance and pay for the insurance and do the workers' comp and
I
all of
see.
that.
That's all coming from the security company.
Right, the 62,000 is all in, so we're not gonna have the vehicle maintenance and we're not gonna have the benefits and all of that.
Okay. Okay. I would just recommend maybe checking with some other security companies and seeing if they're providing this type of service, and if they are, if they're any lower than this price. Just to kind of bid out and see what's going on. Anything else, council? Questions, Mayor?
No, I just think working with staff, I know that they've been, trying to find a way to make sure that, we can cover the city in regards to issues like this. And I think this, again, it takes away a lot of our liability as a city. So, if we can, I'm sure staff could at least look into it, but, the security company that they have has to be already established and and be able to have, you know, the insurance and all that, you know, it comes with hosting something like this.
Did they say by any chance what other municipality that they're doing this in besides
The Village of Matawa,
Matawa?
there's one other one that's in DuPage County. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. It's
Can you find out and let me know? Okay. It's out in DuPage. Okay. Anything else? Sounds good. Right. No, you sure?
I'm fine.
Okay. You know, if it's gonna come to a savings and bring us some sort of savings and help take and alleviate some of the other positions and helping them with it, you know, being more efficient and effective, by all means. I mean, it sounds like a good program.
I do have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Now, okay, because it says that unkept properties and all that. Now, the company that we hired to go around and do that, yes. Now, where do they fall in? Because I'm seeing it's kind of overlapping in what the responsibilities are gonna be. Because it has the neighborhood, including alleys, documenting and citing abandoned vehicles, unkept property, other duties as assigned. So is it gonna be overlapping into what Safe Build is supposed to be doing? Because don't they go around and,
No, that is not the intention. What Safebuild does, they look at the vacant structures and vacant lots. But primarily, they spend the majority of their time looking at the vacant structures.
okay. All right, just asking.
No, yeah, so I understand the question. This company would take a systematic approach up and down the roads, just to see the condition of the neighborhood, and write any citations, pick up any debris, and things like that.
Okay.
In essence, it
They're
sounds
gonna,
like we're
they're gonna
kind,
pick up debris?
yeah.
Yeah, we required them to have a pickup truck.
They are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo, wonderful.
I knew you'd like that part.
I like that
Wait,
part.
so wait, so don't be surprised if I come back here next time and I don't have any other companies to share with you.
And that's fine. It's just to make sure.
Now
you know.
sold me on that one.
Yeah, I knew that would come. So in essence, we're actually kind of adding another code enforcer, because they will be able to write tickets and violations.
That's right.
Which will help that department tremendously, because I know we're under by one staff member in that area. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. We'll put it on committee again, and if you, give you, some time to see if there's, research any other companies that do this. What kind of, if they do, what pricing, what does it look like for them? And, we can discuss it a little bit more and then move forward. Thank you for bringing it. All right, any pending matters? I don't have anything. All right, hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn the Building License Community Development Committee meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, I'd like to open up the Public Safety Committee meeting. Roll call.
Alderman Fisher. Alderman Mayfield.
Present.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen. Alderman Markham.
Present.
Alderman Runnels.
Here.
Alderman January.
Okay, we have one line item, discussion of the Lake County Task Force Resolution, Task Force Law. Chief?
Yes, Madam Chairman. From time to time, as you all know, we belong to the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force. Those are the folks that come out and help us when we have major crimes like homicides, so on and so forth. From time to time, they require us to pass a resolution reaffirming our commitment to the task force. The resolution's been included in your packet along with Appendix A. Appendix A is the bylaws of the task force itself. The major change there is that the task force is seeking to get insurance in case they get sued. The insurance is covers up to $2 million for single incident and I believe $4 million for aggregate coverage. Currently, we have a person assigned to the task force, so our fee for the task force is $500 annually. There will be an additional $486 to cover a portion of the insurance coverage. That will not start until next year. So this year, the task force will cover all the costs affiliated with the insurance, because they have a little bit of money put aside for that. In the years that come up, we'll have to kick in some additional funding for insurance. The hopes of the task force is to increase that insurance policy all the way up to $20 million. But that's going to take some time to build it up to there. We'll keep you updated as to what the cost affiliated with it is.
Okay.
Chairman,
Questions?
I just want to report to the council that one of my partners was responsible for helping to rewrite this agreement on behalf, we were engaged independently by the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force to help rewrite the membership agreement and the bylaws. So I want to make sure you're aware that we represented the task force in presenting this to you. The reorganization is motivated primarily with the intent to, like the chief said, provide a layer of insulation between the city and a plaintiff in the event that the task force is sued. Right now, every member municipality is named individually, and we all are responsible for our own liabilities. The reorganization will help provide a layer of insulation. And as the chief said, it starts off with the current amount of insurance. The goal is to increase it steadily as the insurance market becomes more familiar with the operating history and standards the task force will apply.
Questions? Alderman Markham?
Did they come up with the cost for when we start paying? Do they have an idea what that cost will be
So
from
as long as
each
that
one?
policy stays at $2 million, it
Mhm.
will be $486 a year, in
Mhm.
addition to the $500 that we kick in.
Mhm.
As the cost rises, we don't know what that's going to be. And I think it's going to be affected by whether or not we have claims
Mhm.
during a period of time or not, and also the amount of the coverage.
So that's about $1,000 a month,
No, $1,000 a year.
$1,000 a year. Okay, okay. Thank you.
Additional questions? Okay. Like to entertain a motion to adjourn the Public Safety Committee meeting?
So moved.
Moved, and who second?
Second.
And second. Questions? Roll call.
Alderman Fisher, Alderman Mayfield.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen. Alderman Markham.
Aye.
Alderman Reynolds.
Aye.
Alderman January. 1 second, please. 1 second, please. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to reopen our city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Reynolds, second by Alderman Markham, that our city council meeting resume. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.